on September 17th, 2000, interviewing Julian Gonzalez for the U.S. Latino and Latina World War II Oral History Project. We are sitting in his home on 139 South Audubon, San Antonio, Texas. And this is where the interview is taking place. Okay. Mr. Gonzalez, tell me about your family and a little bit about your daily life. What was it like when you were young?
Well, if you want to know about my family, I had to start with my parents when they were living in Mexico. As you know, my grandparents were kind of wealthy people. They had a lot of land, and they were very prosperous. They had land where they can either farm or raise cattle or do something, whatever they wanted. They had what they call 9 square leagues of land. Whatever that is, I do not know what a league is, but that's what they said. They had 9 square leagues, and they had a big sign as they go into the hacienda, whatever you call it. It says Hacienda Lucas Gonzalez, and that's where my father was born, and where he was raised. He got married, and he was making his living there when all of a sudden the revolution started.
Which revolution is this?
That was between Mexico and Pancho Villa.
Okay.
And what my mother said, one day the federales came, the army, and they took everything they had, for the horses, for the soldiers, and they told her that the government comes first. They took everything. They helped themselves, whatever my father had, to feed the soldiers and feed the horses. And then they left, and after they left, about 2 or 3 days later, here comes Pancho Villa. And Pancho Villa came over and the same thing, where they took everything they had, that was left, And the only thing they gave my mother, Pancho Villa came over and asked her for a cup of coffee. And my mother gave him a cup of coffee. And he said, here, daughter, I'm going to give you this roll of wire so you can make a clothes hanger, you know what I mean?
Clothesline.
Clothesline. So that was it. And my father later on came over, and he was very disgusted what has happened, after he has worked all his life there on the farm and raising cattle or whatever. He had peones and everything else. And he was disgusted. And he told my mother, well, let's go to Texas. Just the land here. They left everything. They crossed the river. There was no immigration in those days. Back and forth.
Rolling.
So your dad left and went to Texas. The whole family did.
They came to Texas. Yeah, there was no immigration in those days. They just swam or walked across. I don't know. They came into Texas, and it was a wild country at the time. I don't think it was inherited like it is now. It was very, very a few homes and few farms, and there's trouble, to make a living. And the only thing that my father knew was about farming, and just found a job with that I remember when I was growing up. He had a job with a man named Mr. Simmons. That's the first patron that he had, and there he learned. He didn't learn. He already knew the farming, but he was liked by the Mr. Simmons, and he gave a piece of land there to farm, and from there he went up, He started renting land by God and farming and hiring laborers to help and things like that. That's the way it was. But I think I'm getting ahead of you people because I had to tell you where I was born.
Okay.
I was born in a little town named at the time it was named oh gosh, I remember. Anyway, it was not Edinburgh. They changed that name from that other little town that its name was I should have wrote it down. Anyway, I remember when I was about 3 or 4 years old that we were living in the woods. In fact, I was born in the woods like Tarzan. I remember that my father made a shack between two ebony trees. And that's where I grew up to about 3 or 4 years old that I remember that my mother had 2 tame javelinas,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And she was living in the woods, so she found this javelina somewhere,
So
and she raised them. And those little javelina would follow her all over her, and they snapped their teeth when somebody got close to my mother. They were protecting her, you know, going around her. But then somebody came around, they go around, you know, snapping their teeth, you know. And one thing about my father, you know, she worked hard, but he liked to have fun. You know what I mean? And I'll tell you about his life, the way he used to be. He work all week. Come Friday, he would go to town, and would come back till about 2-3 days later. You know, he liked to have fun. I mean. And my mother was afraid to be alone in the woods, you know, so she would get away from where she was, the little shack she had.
the shack was what he made.
And she went deeper into the woods, you know, and hide. You know what I mean? Hide because she was afraid somebody might come over to the place where she was and attack him or something. Or she'd take the kids up there. Only my big brother, she was about 5-6 years old then, and my 2 sisters that were twins, and then me was about 3 years old that I remember. Now that's what I'm telling you about this. I was about 3 or 4 years old that I remember that. And we were going deeper into the woods, you know, and she would take those little hard in the woods, you know. And that's the way I remember that I used kind of fun I used to have. My father bought me a butterfly. And I was a little kid, and I thought the butterfly was a real big thing. You know, to me it was about 8 inches.
It was a toy.
Big, it's a toy, you know, made out of tin, you know. And it looked like a butterfly. I remember I used to put a string on it and pull it, you know, and the weight would flop up and down like that. I think it was the first toy I had. And then from there on, I think that Mr. Simon, his boss gave him a home, a little shack he had up there, a little room, level we moved to.
Mr. Simmons. Okay.
I hope we're recording.
Do you want to back it up and show?
I can't see it. Okay.
Okay, and then Mr. Gonzalez, you were talking about Simmons. Mr. Simmons had given y'all a place, and what was this town called again that you were?
Well, I remember now. They call it in Spanish. They call it Chapin. In English, it's Shaded. That was before they changed it to Edinburgh. So
Mr. Simmons.
Edinburgh had been. It's how I was born here. Being Edinburgh. Edinburgh now. Yeah, Mr. Simon give Daddy a place to stay there, and gave me a piece of land to farm. And from there on, my father went up renting places to farm, It had men from Mexico helping him. He used to raise a lot of cotton and corn. And we moved from one place to another, different places, And I remember growing up, we used to live in a place named the name Mr. Krisky. I don't know if he was a Bohemian or he was in German, that's for sure. Krisky must have been a Bohemian or a Poliski or something, I don't know. Huh? Polish, probably Polish, I don't know. He was a good man. He used to help Betty a lot. And he had a wood area with a lake in it, And that's where I used to go and spend my young days up there,
Your childhood days.
Yeah, swimming in the lake and hunting for doves and rabbits, and every time I kill a dove or two, I take it to mama to make a meal. In those days it was pretty hard to make a living. So we never kill a bird. I mean, any kind of game for the fun. We used to usually take it home, and my mother used to make a good meal. And we used to do a lot of farming. Farm was in my father's profession. We moved from one place to another. And the last time we moved over to another place named they used to call it Puente Negro. You remember Puente Negro? You never heard it. And there he had 50 acres. He came down on the acres. Before he had about a couple of 100 acres, farming there. For some reason or another, he can blow, and because the family. No, I was about, I don't know, 14, 15 years old then.
How many kids were you, Penny?
My family, 15 of them all together. 11 girls and 4 boys. And I was the one who stayed the longest in the farm, because everybody else wanted to get an education and find a good job and this and that.
Well, speaking of education, tell me about your school years.
My school years.
Where did you go to school, and what was it like? And
So we used to walk 3 miles to school every day. We didn't have no transportation. There were no buses in those days. We used to walk 3 miles to school every day. 3 miles to school and 3 miles home. 6 miles a day. And my father was pretty strict. He wanted us to go to school. And I studied there in Saint Joseph's School, the name of the school that I went to.
what were your first years in school like? Do you know that? What were your first years in school like? Do you?
It was, every kid hates school. I used to hate it because, especially studying English by it, and me as a Latin by it, trying to learn English, it was pretty hard, But anyway, it was fun and it was hard. I remember a little kid when I was going to school, and when some of these Angus kids used to come over and chase me. They used to get after me. I used to run. I used to be afraid of. I used to run. And one day, my brother who walked with me, he told me, "Don't run, because the more you run, the more they're gonna keep after you." They say, "Fight him. If they want to fight him." Well, I stood there, and one of those little Anglos came over and teasing me and tried to fight with me, and And I stood my ground and I beat the heck out of him, but I don't know how, but I beat him up, And from there on, boy, I was never afraid of those kids. I was always walk along like a,
With your head up.
yeah. And they kind of kept away from me. Yeah.
And what was the teachers like, or the nuns? They taught you?
Well, the nuns were pretty fair, I had a nun that used to like me a lot. She would every time at noontime, when I would go and eat, she would come over to the door, of her house, and she called me over there, I little kid, 9-year-old kid, go out there to her, say, come on in, say, I'm gonna give you something to eat. So I went in there, and she'll give me some food, and sit me on the table there, and I eat there. Well, I remember one time I was singing on the swing, and I was writing on the ground some words in the Spanish that some men that came from Mexico tried to teach the kids at nighttime, and to write in the Spanish. And the first thing those gonna teach you, what they always say, "Viva Mexico," as and well, little kids, we don't know what the heck that meant, "Viva Mexico." So we learn how to write "Viva Mexico," And I was swinging on the swing with my, swinging on my belly, and I was writing "Viva Mexico." And the principal, so it's a nun. Her name was Sister Mary Celestine. I will never forget that teaching by her. She had a glazed eye, and she would blink with one eye, and the other eye was kept open looking at you, I was scared of her, and she saw me writing on the ground, and when the bell rang, we all ran to school, and she went up there and find out what I was writing about. But so when I went to McLeod's room, she called me in, and I went out there, and she had a big glass of water. She was shaking it with a spoon, and I didn't know what it was. And she told me, "I'm gonna give you this water because I found out what you wrote up there. You wrote Viva Mexico." And she said, "You like Mexico so much, how come you don't take the next train and go to Mexico?" I also thought I was scared of her, And there she was shaking that glass full of water, shaking it with a spoon and looking at me with one eye. She blinking with one eye, and the other eye was staring at me like that. I was scared of her. And then she came down and she said, "I'm not going to give you this because I know your daddy is a good man. He usually bring us a turkey or bring us some vegetables from the farm. He said, your daddy is a good man." He said, "But you," he said, "if you don't like to live here in Texas, take the next train, go to Mexico." There was discrimination in those days. Don't say there was. There was.
Yeah. And how were the kids? You said there was Anglo kids and Mexican kids in the same.
They were all in the street.
Treated differently.
No, we were very well integrated. There we was no discrimination that I remember among the Anglos with the Mexicans. And funny thing about it is when we used to eat at noon, we get a recess at noon to eat, and the Mexicano usually get a taco of frijoles and papas, papas con huevo, egg with potatoes, and we were tired of that, we were tired of eating papas, potato with eggs, and we saw the little Anglos sitting next to us with a sandwich, ham sandwich with and a jelly sandwich, and boy, we were just looking at that sandwich because, and they were looking at our food. They like the Mexican food. They like the potato with eggs and the taco made out of beans. And they would trade with us. And then they usually came over to where I was and they sit down right there and watch and see what I was eating. And then you want to trade? They give me the ham sandwich for a taco, beef taco or papas con huevos. And I was glad they were glad because they like our food. I don't know why, but it's fun. But thinking about the old days like it was.
So your parents were real strict with you on the farm, or?
My daddy was pretty strict. Yeah, He usually want us to work and work. As soon as we came from school, by golly, we supposed to unbutton our shirts and take the shirt and give it to mama so she wash it for next day. By golly, go clean school. And one day, but I don't know. I was about in the probably the 6th grade. I did finish 6th grade, and I came home and told my mama, "Mom, I'm tired of going to school with the same clothes over and over again. And I see all the kids go to school and they got new clothes and clean clothes and I don't like to go to school like this." I go, and my father heard me, and my father said, "You don't like to go to school? Get the hoe and go to work. Get the hoe and go to the farm and start working." So I was happy, I was a young kid, but I didn't like school in the first. So I got the hoe, I went to work, and I've been working ever since. But
They didn't go back to school after?
no, I didn't go back to school, and we had to work very hard, because my father we got a lot of kids for to support, and my father was alone there, although. Like I told you before, he had some peons, working for him before, but after he reduced the land 50 acres, he tried to do the work himself or put me to work. Most of the time I was doing the work, the hard work up there. But it was an experience, it was hard, and I don't regret it because it made me a man, but I'm glad that I work hard in the farm and I learned how to work, and I appreciate what my father done to me. Although he was strict, very strict, and but I learned to work, and I appreciate that. Now that I'm an older man, by golly, I say the strictness that my father was with me. I hated it at the time, but now that I'm an old man, and I'm glad because if it wouldn't been for that, I don't know what I would have been doing. Maybe I would have been a bomber or a robber or who knows, usually it's good for the parents to teach the kids how to work. It's very important in life.
So you were one of those in the family that worked real hard in the farm.
Very, very hard.
And
I worked very hard.
And as far as your background,
I worked day and night, but I remember I used to irrigate at nighttime. My God, and that's a hard job to irrigate. And that's irrigate farms up there in the valley. You're supposed to irrigate them, or you want to raise a good crop. And I used to do that at nighttime. I used to work for other people. I used to irrigate for other people. They would pay me $1 a night, from sundown to early in the morning, and $1 a day, in the daytime. And in those days, a day was a day. It was from sun up to sundown. That's what it was, a day. It wasn't like it is now, 8 hours a day. And those days, by God, it was very different. And you only earned $1 a day.
Okay.
Speaking of the strictness of your parents, How did that affect you as far as religion? Want to speak a little bit about that?
My father was very, very religious man. He would send us to church every Sunday. And I remember one day that he sent me to church. He gave me a quarter. He says, here's a quarter so you can put in the collection box by God. And I took the quarter and I walked, it's about 3 miles to church, to school, to the town, And as I was going to church, I saw airplane fly. I never seen an airplane in my life like that. And I saw this 2-wing airplane flying, And I wonder how in the heck that noggin thing is flying up there all by itself, So I went up there and wrote the boy and landed, it come and landed on a field there. There's a few people there waiting for And that plane will come down and 1 or 2 people get in it. And they'll take off again. There he goes. And I stayed there by pretty near, I think, 5-6 hours, but I forgot about going to church. And I spent the quarter buying at that time a soda water would cost you a nickel. And peanuts or a hamburger, you can buy a hamburger for 10 cents in those days. So I spent the quarter anywhere. And I stayed there and I said, gosh, I forgot to go to church. And it was about 3 o'clock in the evening already, And I said, I better go home. So I started walking home, When I got home, my father had about 15 boxes full of bees, that he raised honeybees, and he was, the bees didn't bother him because they knew him. He was on them cutting the honey out and putting it in a tub, But he saw me coming. He said, son, come over here. Because I was late, I was supposed to be in early. And he asked me, what did the preacher preach? And I looked at him, and he knew I didn't go to church. So he grabbed me by the arm, and he started giving me a good whipping, And all of a sudden, all those doggone bees came over and just got on my hair and started stinging me all over. And my father was giving it to me too, I said, next time I tell you to go to church, you go to church. I said, this is the reason I'm whipping you, because you didn't go to church. And I had nothing that I could say, it was true. I didn't go to church. But I never forget that. But besides being whipped by those bees, just stung the heck out of me by herself. It's a good thing to remember. The rest of my life is a good what should I say? Yeah, a good adventure. A good. So it was pretty strict in those days. You had to obey your daddy. The daddy called you one time. My God, you go. You come over when he called you, or else he won't call you the second time. He go out there and grab you by the arm and come here, son, and he give you a good whip. And the next time I call you, you come. That's the way it was. It was strict.
Okay, what do you remember about what was going on in the country and the community when you were growing up? What were some of the things
A
happening?
lot of fun, but like I say, me and another friend, but we used to go out and we used to go out hunting with what they used to call a nigger shooters. I don't know what they call it now. It's leash shot or whatever, And we used to kill doves, or rabbits or whatever came our way. And we didn't kill them just for the fun of it. We killed them too, because we need them for food, And one day we were walking along a canal, and the canal was full of water, and it's a bridge, and we crossed that bridge, and we heard some noise, and somebody in the water, So we look up there, and these girls, there were 3 girls. There were 3 girls there, and they saw us, And we turned the other way, because those days was a lot of respect,
They were Mexican girls?
No, they were Anglos.
Okay.
And they, one of them called me out and said, "Hey, Julia, come here. Which one you like? This one or this one or this one?" And I was a doggone scared, and we were scared because in those days, you couldn't make love to a white girl. You couldn't even look at them because they would, if they ever find out about it, they'll get you. They'll lynch you. They do something about it. Same thing with that guy, but they couldn't do not. They couldn't make love to a girl or nothing. Even though the girls were willing to, he just couldn't do it. We had a lot of respect for them.
So those they would lynch Mexicans if you just looked at them or even talked to them?
Yeah, they would. If the girls would squid on them or something like that, this girl that they knew was, and that's the reason one of those girls called me up and said which one I like. Hell, I turned the other way, but I was so scared by that.
They put a lot of fear in y'all, huh?
There's another one too. I was working on the field with my father. We were hoeing, and on the farm there, and there was a canal there next to us. And here there was Gracie was her name. This girl with her little sister. Her little sister was about 9 years old, and I was working with hoeing up the weeds on the farm. My father was with me, and all of a sudden this little girl came out of the water and said, "Hey, Julian, Gracie wants you." And I was so doggone scared, because God, he just couldn't talk to a white girl, But that's they did like Dad, and I mean the Mexican kids, but we had respect for them, I mean, we just put around with them.
Why was it that you were so afraid? You said because they lynched them. You saw them lynch.
Well, in the first place, we knew we shouldn't talk to white girls because you never know whether they'll squeal on you or not. And once they start telling a story, they got nobody that. That's what happened. And we just kept away from.
So what other things were going on in the community, or do you remember as far as in the country at that time? Who was the president, or do you know about that?
Well, I'll tell you about there was some kind of discrimination on the Mexican people because I remember some Texas ranchers, they would go asking questions, and then especially drove to the Rio Grande there. There was a lot of what do you call it? Contraband. A lot of guys would go from Texas to Mexico and get some tequila because this was a dry country before, it still wasn't allowed to drink here in Texas, But anyway, some guys used to go across and bring some tequila or mezcal or whatever and sell it here in Texas. Whereas a dance or a party, and they were selling, and if they were get caught, they were sent to the penitentiary. A lot of guys went to the penitentiary for contraband, selling like marijuana nowadays. The same thing. Dope nowadays. You couldn't sell it. If they catch you, you go to jail. The same thing used to be with tequila and mezcal. They used to bring across, But it was pretty dangerous.
Okay. Do you remember what you did when you were around 18 years of age?
When I was about 80 years of age, I used to work. Just work like and the farm, Yeah. I ran away from home a couple of times because my father was kind of strict. I went one time to town and I stayed there till about, well, I didn't stay in town till 2 o'clock in the morning. I came back home and I had to walk 3 miles back, And by the time I came home, it was about 2 o'clock. That Saturday, my father didn't go out. My father came early, and I thought he was gonna stay late. So he came before I did. I came in real slow into the house. I tiptoeing, but I didn't nobody would hear me. I went to bed, but my father was awake. He probably was waiting for me because I wasn't home. But anyway, as soon as I lay down and tried to go to sleep, he called me up. Hey, Julian, it's time to milk the cow. Get up. About 3 o'clock in the morning. So I got up. I went out to milk the cows, and I came in with the milk, one morning, and it was dark, because those days we didn't have electric light. We had lamps, and it was kind of dark coming in. And my sister had gotten up, and the porcelain milk on a plate, some cat, and I came in, and it was kind of dark in the house, just a little light, and I stepped in a dog old cat. I got in, and my father said, "Can you see? Are you blind or something?" And my response was, if I had seen it, I wouldn't have stepped on it. Boy, I wouldn't. I bet I would have kept better off if I were shut up. When I told him that, he got up and yelled, "Give me a quickie!" Yelled because of that. It was pretty strict those days. You can't talk back to your parent by it. So that's the experience I had by him. After I milked the cows and everything, and he gave me a good whipping, and I used to pick cotton, and it was cotton picking time, and I got sore because he bit me out because of the cat, and but I didn't tell him anything. I just went in where I had my picking cotton sack, and put it on my shoulder and took off. I ran away from home, and I went to a friend of mine. He had a farm. He had a lot of cotton, and I went up there to pick cotton. I was a good cotton picker. I used to pick 500 pounds a day. At 50 cents a 100. That's about $2.50 a day. That was pretty good in those days. So I went up there and I stayed with him for about a month. And one day, one Sunday, here come my daddy looking for me. And I was happy to go back home too, because I missed my hot meals and things like that. And he came looking for me and he told me, "You better go home. Your mother is real sad and she don't want to eat. And she misses you and she wants you to come home." And I thought, okay, I'm going to go home. Only one condition. I'm going home not because of you, but I'm going to go home because of my mother. So I went home, My mother was real happy, I went home. And that's kind of life I used. I ran away from home twice, 3 times, 2 times. The last time I ran away, but I went to town, Edinburgh, big city. And I looked for a job. I found a job at Joe Stopper. They had 2 restaurants in those days. The 2 restaurants were named Joe. One Joe Stopper and the other was Joe Mancha. So I looked for a job at Joe Stopper. He gave me a job there washing dishes. 6 o'clock and evening 6 o'clock in the morning, $1 a night. But at least I had something to eat there,
So that was your first full-time job.
Yeah, that's the first full job I had, and I used to, for $1 a night, by God, in my meal, that was doggone good. I thought, wow, yeah, that was wonderful, and I had a place to stay there in the same place that I used to work, Just stop. He had a place where he fixed vending machines. I don't know if you know what a vending machine is. Penny machine, you put in peanuts and then you put a penny in there and they give you a handful of peanuts for a penny. or gum or candy, or he had some of those games. You shoot a gun on a little case there, and you shoot the target up there with a BB gun. It was fun in those days. I used to fix all those things. So I had to play there to stay. And I soon got promoted. They made me a assistant cook in there. And I hate it because the cook will say, "Well, you're an assistant cook. You stay here tonight. I'm leaving at 10 o'clock, and you better be here in the morning." So I stay there all by myself. And then anybody come 1 or 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, I had to cook for them whatever they want. And I was I don't know. I didn't like it very well because in those days it was Edinburgh, and I think all the places were open towns. You know what I mean? Open town means that they got white women, cabaret, they all over. And about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, here come all the women by to just stop a place to eat hamburgers. I used to cook hamburgers all up on wood.
Mr. Gonzalez, what did you do during the 1940s, or what do you recall about the time when World War II started? And how old were you?
In the 1940s, like I said, I was working at just a stopper place. And when I heard about the Japanese attack at Pearl Harbor, and I was real mad. I don't know. So excited about it, but that I wanted to go in and fight the Japs. And when you're young, but you don't know what the heck you're talking about. So when they attacked Pearl Harbor, I say, "Gosh, I wish I go out there and beat the hell out of the Japs." And but it passed about 6 months later or something like that. I there was a draft at the time, beginning a draft, but I volunteered to go in. Not because I was so anxious to go and fight, but because at the time I had a girl, and I was supposed to marry her. But somehow or another, her father came over from Mercedes and took her over to Mercedes to live up there. They were separated, her mother, her father, and it just happened that he came by and he just picked him up and took him away. I was coming out of church, when I saw a big truck full of furniture and 3 girls behind waving goodbye. What the heck? Who is that? Who could that be? So I went out there where my girlfriend used to live, and as the lady that owned the house there said, "What happened? What is that big truck with all the furniture going?" He said, "Well, that's Leonore and her mother. Her father came and pick him up. They're gonna go to live in the Mercedes, and I'm supposed to marry her, those days." So I felt real bad, and I said, "God, did they leave any addresses?" No, they just left. I don't know where they went. So I went out there the following week, looking for them. I walk up there, I said, "How far is Mercedes from Edinburgh?" But 15 miles, something like that. And I walk anywhere because I didn't have nobody to take it. And I looked for her all over that city, but straight from the street, and I couldn't find her. So I came back home. The following week, I went out there again, tried to look for her, and I say I better go to the theater, and right in front of the theater, I said, "I'm gonna let's stop here and wait for them. Maybe they'll come over. There are three girls, two sisters, and hurry. Maybe they come over and go see a movie or something. And sure enough, as soon as I parked myself in the theater there, here come the two little girls, her sisters. And they say, Julian, yeah, we're glad to see you. You wanna know where we live? I say, yes, I wanna know where Leonore is. They say, Leonore is gonna get married. And I say, I feel real bad when they say that word, because I'm supposed to marry her. So we went up there to her house, and her mother used to like me a lot because I used to help them, when she was over in Edinburgh. I used to visit them and help them, and in case they need any groceries or something like that, I used to help them, And the first thing that the mother said, by golly, she felt real bad, She said, Leonore is gonna get married. And she started crying, her mother. And but she's not here right now. She went to make an errand, but she'd be here in a little while. So I stayed there waiting for her, And pretty soon here comes Leonore, And she came over and shake hands with me, and she told me right away, she says, I'm gonna get married. But I'm gonna give you the present you have given me. In those days, you give a girl a present and they keep it in a little box, when they get married and this and that, But she came out with a box of presents that I had given her, and I took the box and I put a thing that I had given her, and I gave it to her mother. Her mother started crying, and when she said, "I'm gonna get married. My father wanted me to get married with this friend of his." And in those days, you're supposed to obey your parents, So there's nothing that I could do, So okay, I told him, if you're happy, it's okay. I'll just go home. So I start walking home, On the way home, I said, hell, I'm gonna join the army, and I'm gonna teach this. I'm gonna show this girl that I'm a man. I'm gonna go out there and fight, and I'm gonna come back a hero. Stupid, it's something that comes on your head. So anyway, I went home, and the first thing I did is right away when I went to the courthouse, and I raced to go into the army. And that day was a load of guys coming to San Antonio, for getting inducted into the army. I was one of them. So I came to San Antonio, had my training over here, and I remember my mother and my father took me to the train station, when I load up in the train, and they had Pullmans in those days, a big Pullman with beds and everything, and I haven't seen a Pullman nowadays in the train, but and I went in there and I stuck my head out and through the window. I saw my mother just waving goodbye with one hand, wiping her tears with the other, and I felt bad about it, Anyway, we came to San Antonio before I got my training, all my indoctrination training that we had about 6 weeks, I think, or something like that. And that's where I started my Army career at Fort St. Houston.
Mr. Gonzalez, what did your family and friends and neighbors think about you serving in war?
Well, I hope that they felt sad and sorrow for every soldier that went into the service, because they knew that it was go to war, and they would probably, some of them wouldn't come back. I think that kind of sad, I guess, or sorry or something. But
what branch did you say you were in?
I was in the second. I was in the 9th Infantry, 2nd Division.
In what branch? In the Army? Oh, in the Army. Okay. And what was it like for you where you were stationed? And where were you stationed?
I was stationed at Fort Sam, beautiful place.
Fort Sam.
Never regret being there, and I still love that place. But I go by there and I remember when I was there. They got beautiful barracks, beautiful training.
Fort Sam is where?
What?
Where is Fort Sam?
Fort Sac here in San Antonio.
San Antonio, Texas. Okay. And what was it like for you where you were stationed? What was it like? What kind of experience did you have?
Well, I think it was wonderful. I mean, everybody was treated the same because there was no discrimination in the ranks of the soldiers there, because we were all like a family. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The discrimination was probably outside when you go out into town or something like that. I remember one occasion that two friends of mine, two Anglos, invited me to go to town with them. So we went to town, and they wanted to go into a beer joint or a restaurant there, and it had a sign there on the door, "No dogs or Mexicans allowed." You know, so we went in there anyway. So there were two Anglos with me, and I went in with them, and the first thing that the waiters told me, "You better get into the kitchen, and no Mexicans allowed in here." And so those two other soldiers say, "What do you mean, no Mexicans allowed? We're all the same. We're soldiers." Yeah, with those are the rules here. So these guys start throwing bottles and destroying the place up, you know, and there was a big investigation because of that, you know. And what happened, you know, President Roosevelt made an order that no more discrimination. Any place that would discriminate against any soldier, whether it was Mexican or American or Japanese or whatever, I guess, that place would be closed. So they lifted out those discriminations in San Antonio, but there was some discrimination about Mexicans in those days, very much. They would send you you go into a restaurant, American restaurant, they send you to the kitchen to eat.
Mm-hmm.
They're like the black guys too, you know, they had to go into the kitchen. So it was a little discrimination.
So President Roosevelt changed it?
Yeah, the orders came by anybody discriminate by the
Mr. Gonzalez, we were talking about the branch that you were in, which was the Army, and we would like for you to talk a little bit about where you were stationed. I think you were talking about Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio.
right.
And we'd like to know a little bit about what it was like for you where you were stationed. And I see that uniform. Is that a uniform that...
That's my original uniform I used to wear when I was at Fort Sam Houston. The one I used to go out every other day or every 2 days. We used to go out to town, you know, and have a little fun up there.
Mm-hmm.
This is the uniform I used to wear. In fact, sometimes I take a good look at it and it smell like the girls I used to go out.
Okay. Well, so tell us a little bit about what it was like when you were stationed, where you were stationed in San Antonio.
Well, I used to like it. It was a nice post, you know, 9th Infantry Regiment. The headquarters there and the barracks were real nice, real neat, real clean. And they were, I think they made in a Spanish style with because they had this kind of roofing that the Spanish homes had, you know. And I used to like it, and I still do, but I used to go by there and look at the barracks where I used to be stationed and bring me back the memories, you know.
Mm-hmm. Well, tell us a little bit about your training. What type of experience did you have training?
We had some training at Camp Boulders. We had some training at Upper Cordillera Camp. We used to train for about 6 weeks before we got it back into our barracks at Fort Sam. And that's where originally they chose what branch of the service you were going into, either the infantry or the uh, artillery or whatever, and I was chosen to be in the infantry, 9th Infantry Regiment, and that's where I got my training, and from there we had our good times and bad times, and we used to have those big parades, inspection days on Saturdays at the fort. What do you call it?
Tell us a little bit about the training that you went through while you were there stationed at Fort Sam Houston.
Well, we had pretty rough training by it. Sometimes they used to get us up at 1 o'clock in the morning, and they had to get them full field packed and get ready to get out in a minute. We didn't know where we were going. So we started hiking. By the time we got around, they tell us we were going to Camp Buddha. It's 30 miles away. We had to walk all the way up there. And we walked and walked, but then we got 10 minutes rest out of every hour. And a lot of guys didn't make it. A lot of guys had sore feet, but then they had to be carried out in the ambulance. But I was lucky enough that I didn't get any sore feet or blisters, anything like that. I made it all the way to Camp Buddha, And when we went out there, it was about 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening. And I tell you, we were hungry, boys. And then they had a mess hall up there. We went up there and ate in the mess hall. So we all got up there and we got our meal. And after that, but we went into maneuvers, and in the woods there, the good guys and the bad guys. One company was supposed to be the enemy, and the other company is supposed to be the good guy. He used to play war games in the woods. Pretty dangerous, because there are snakes and scorpions and all kinds of insects there that get into your body or something like that. Had to be careful about it. And we finished our training there in about 2 weeks. We had about 2 weeks of training out there. And there we were shipped back to Fort Sam in trucks. We went back to Fort Sam. We didn't walk back. We were transferring trucks. Went back to our units. And we were glad we were back. By God, then we went into training and disassembling the rifles and blindfolded, and they had to do it in the dark. Had to disassemble a rifle and clean it up and put it back together again. So they say that's the way we used to. We might have to do it in war. So maybe so. Well, we had that kind of training. And from there, we were transferred to Camp McCoy, Wisconsin. And remember when we got out there, it was a cold, real cold. And when you train there too, we went onto the field maneuvers for a month. There were no barracks. There were no place where you can warm yourself up. You have to learn the hard way. And I remember that it was so cold. Some of the poor guys got their noses frozen, their toes, their fingers, and the hands. And I was lucky enough that I didn't get any frostbitten, like they used to call it. to keep warm, we used to cut blocks of ice, like a block of ice, cut it with a bayonet, and get blocked like make a wall or 3 walls, and then we cut some pines and put a roof on it. We used to call it a lean-to or something like that, and then after you put the pines on top of it, on those blocks, you make like a shelter and start shouting snow over it. You make a solid roof so the wind wouldn't, because the wind, it was cold as I don't know why. And that was them making fires there, But before that, to keep warm, they give us I think they used to call it a rucksack or something. They used to crawl in it. It was made out of feathers, and it was warm. You stick your body in there, and go and zip yourself up, up to your shin. And someone zipped themselves all the way to the back of the head, and pretty soon they couldn't breathe because when they were the breath, the steam from the breath, it would freeze the zipper, and they couldn't breathe, and they're inside and they started struggling to get out of there, and they tear those sacks open and feathers flying all over, And I was lucky, that I used to zip it over just to my shin up here, and I kept my nose open, but a lot of the guys went all the way out to the back. And sometimes to keep warm, at nighttime, daytime too, we used to gather some wood, dry it out, and make a fire. We used to make a fire under that lean-to, and the branches from the pines where we had on top of the roof, used to hang down like, what I mean, hanging down on the to the ground a little bit, and some of those were so low that the flames will catch the branches on fire because the pines, those pines are just like gasoline. Once they bursting out in flame, and boy, we used to get out of there in that hurry. We didn't know that the
Pine trees.
the pine tree would burn, they're green, but they're burned like gasoline. I don't know how, but boy, we learned our lessons.
So what type of training did you have there? Did you
Skiing?
learn to ski over there, huh?
I learned to ski there, and I learned to carry the bargain they used to call it or something like that. They used to sled, where you carry your equipment on the sled, and but mostly was skiing. I used to like to ski.
Sounds like they already knew where you were going, huh?
Yeah, and the reason of that training was that they didn't know where they were going to send us, either to ¿cómo se llama? Germany or Swiss Alps or whatever you call them. So it was real cold out there. And they used to give us kind of fainty when it was real cold. But luckily we didn't go to the coldest planet when we made invasion of France.
So tell us a little bit about that. How was your trip on the boat when you were going? And how did you get your orders to go? What was all that?
Well, all of a sudden, they say, this is it. We're going overseas. And we all get ready to be shipped out, And we got into big transport boats, and we crossed the ocean there, and it took us 15 days to get up to England, because we were zigzagging. We didn't go straight. We zigzagged because of the U-boats, that were knocking every boat they could get a hold of.
U-boats or
U-boats or submarines from the Germans, that they would they would sink any boat that would go from America to England, and we were full in 6 seconds, so so it took 15 days. Boy, I was sicker than a dog. Oh, I was so sick, my God. Seasick in the boat,
So how many men were in the boat usually?
Oh gosh, maybe 2 or 3,000 more.
In one boat?
Yeah, big transporting. Yeah, well, we got to Belfast.
Our
And there was a welcome arrival there because that's where the Irish people
Mr. Gonzalez, I understand that you landed in Belfast, Ireland.
Yes, we were tired of sailing, and finally we came to Ireland there in Belfast at the port there, and they received us, the Irish people, with a band, and they were playing out. The Yanks are coming. The Yanks are coming everywhere. And they wouldn't be back until it's all over there. I was happy to hear them, and yet I was kind of sad because I had left my country and my people behind. But I was glad that I got into port, but I got in ready to unload. From there, they unload every outfit and give them a place to stay. And lucky enough, our outfit, the 2nd Division, was a station in a castle, a real old castle there. We were stationed there that's where we had our training. From there, we went to town, come back, and did some more training. And it's a funny thing, we went to that castle, and you could see the torture chambers where they torture the people. They had a big table up there with cranks up there where they stretch this body of the people. They had where they used to clamp the iron things on the hand and stretch them out. But it's a torture chamber. Now we used to go all over, and they had dungeons over there where you hide, and there was a dungeon and a getaway place there where you could go for about 2 or 3 blocks on the ground. You get out of on the other side. It's a river. What I got me most is the torturing chamber where they had this chains on the wall with this bracelet where you hang the man by God and whip him, or I don't know what they do. It was a torture chamber. It was very sad by here. And but I enjoy it. I mean, it was an experience. It's a great experience because I have never seen a castle before. But that was a great opportunity to me to see, to learn what went on in those years when the English and the Irish were fighting. I don't know what happened, but those were the castles where they used to fight and torture people.
So how long were you there before you were shipped?
Oh, we were there about a year, 8 or 10 or maybe a year. I don't know. We trained for the invasion, They gave us a lot of training, It's the only one thing by God that I might have to tell you later on. They never taught us to fight the kind of war we fought. Because we fought that war in France where the terrain was not the same as the training they gave us on the States. It was not the same as the training they gave us in Ireland or England. It was a different kind of terrain, something you never heard of.
So
They used to call it hedgerow, perhaps. A hedgerow is it's a wall. Instead of having fences like we do here in the States, you divide your property by putting a fence, and that divides your property from the other property. These hedges, they were embankments, what they call, they used to call them hedgerows, and it's about 3 to 4, sometimes 5 feet high. It's an embankment of dirt, and it was full of brush and trees and things like that. That's where we had a hard time fighting that wall.
So when did you get the notice for y'all to leave and invade? And where did you tell me a little bit?
Well, that was surprising to us. They didn't tell us what we were gonna do. Everything was secret in those days, the word wasn't passed around. We're gonna invade, or we're gonna go to war, or we're gonna, it's just like a maneuver. You get up and full field pack and get ready to go out. And that's the way it was.
So they didn't tell y'all we're getting ready to
I didn't tell them they were gonna go to France or invade or anything like that. We just load up in the boats. We had 2 or 3 times we had dry run, they used to call them, and we all thought, well, that's another dry run, yeah. But this was not a dry run, but it was the real McCoy, and that's what happened.
So as y'all got closer, how did you know you were going to be in the war? How did you know you were actually going to
We didn't know we were going to fight. We didn't know we were going to cross. We didn't know the boat was going to sail across to France. That was top secret. They couldn't tell you, by God, they couldn't tell any soldier what was going on or what was going to happen, because of the in case somebody will talk and the lake would go out and warn the Germans. So everything was secret. You didn't know what was going to happen.
So at what point while you were in the boat did you all realize it was really the thing, that this was
Well, I tell you the truth, we didn't know. We didn't know until we boat stopped, about, I don't know, maybe 5 miles from the shore or something like that, and they started telling you, all right, get off, everybody get off by that, and go down the net. They had a net hanging down on the boat, made out of rope, and like a ladder, and everybody was climbing down that net by God and going into the landing craft. The landing crafts were right there, maybe 30 or 40 soldiers to a landing craft.
And that's when y'all knew.
And that's when we realized that we were really going into the war, into the fight, and then you hear the shots from the enemy firing to the boats and things like that. You were in some kind of a trouble. But that's what happened. So
tell us a little bit about the boat experience before you once you got in the landing boats and it all was starting to go toward
there
land.
were not only one landing boat, were haunted because there were thousands of boats, and from everywhere was solely unloading into landing craft. And I remember my boat, but on my landing craft, I was looking down. It was so high, the boat is real high. It's about 2 or 3 stories high. Going down on good ropes to get on the landing craft. But I was afraid to fall down and get into the water. I was afraid. So we landed anyway. We landed on the boat. We climbed into the landing craft and we took off. We took off going to the beach. And then we were getting real close. We started carrying all that bombardment and all that shelling and all that machine gun fire, and pretty soon our landing craft stopped and said, all right, everybody get off. And everybody runs out back out into to the gate that opens up, and everybody runs out, thinking there is land right there, but it wasn't land, but you sink into the ocean there, oh my God, way up above your head, and you had to get your rivals up here not to get wet, but still you get wet, and then you jump up and down until until you get out where you can walk.
And you had all that big pack behind you.
Yeah, 75 pounds of pack behind you, and therefore all that, hear all the bombardment and all that shelling and all that screaming and all that killing and all those guys getting killed and floating in the water, and some of your friends get killed, but you couldn't stop. You couldn't stop to give them a hand because the older word that just keep on going, don't stop, don't. If you stop, you're gonna get it too. So just keep on going, by the way, and it was raw. Yeah, I remember those days, by God. That
You want to read a little bit about your poem that you wrote on that?
that day I got I wrote a little bit about that I can remember. I say sometimes I lay at night just thinking of that day. The day I left, felt so scared. The day I got off the barge to fall deep into the sea. I walked off that barge thinking that land was there. Instead, I went under with water above my head. I swam, I walked ahead. I never felt so scared, so alone among so many. I truly believe I would never survive, or if I did, would be made without legs or limbs by the enemy, that it would not be worth living. It was a day to remember. All the bombardment, the shelling, bullets flying all around, the screams of the wounded, the dead floating in the water, and the boys asking for help you cannot give. But you have to keep on moving. God only knows how I survived that awful day. My faith in God helped me along, and the promise I made with my Creator that if I survive this awful conflict, I'll be forever devoted to Him and to His Blessed Mother. Days and months gone by, and so have the years, but I still think of those boys that fall and didn't make it. I pray for them. I talk to them and hope that they were in a peaceful place.
Are you going to be reading about your experience now, what happened in the war? Because maybe you could just talk about it so we can know about that a little more detail.
Well, let me finish reading about this.
Okay.
The first day, we made an advance, and I started digging close to the house. As you dig for a folks' hole, the snipers were firing at you from all directions. It seemed that they were there next to you. The sniper fire is so awful because you never see where it's coming from. Boys were getting killed just next to you. I remember looking at a two-wheel car close to me that was full of wood. The soldier was walking by in front of the car. When I heard the rifle shot, I got up and went to examine the car, and it was a hiding place for a sniper. I called another soldier, and we got a young woman with a rifle that was shooting at our boys. We found out this girl had married a German officer and was left behind as a sniper to delay our advance so that her husband escaped. We turned her over to our commanding post. The snipers were all over, and they had the advantage, where it was the privilege to hide behind those hedgerows that were 3 to 4 feet high, overgrown with brush and trees. We had to find out the hard way. All the training they gave us in the States and in England and Ireland, our trainers never mentioned the hedgerows. They were ignorant of the terrain. We learned the hard way by losing a lot of our boys. We learned that we took precautions not to be too big on process of field, and officers who work fast to do that, they'll get their soldiers killed or slain. The breakthrough at St. Louis was an example. My battalion commander came over to my old outfit, asking who was in charge of this outfit. I am, sir, was my reply. Get your men across that field, now. I'm sorry, sir. I cannot export my men to cross that field. There is a machine gun ready to shoot anybody who crosses that field. But I'll go out there myself if you want me to. Well, get your ass out there, now, he replied. I didn't cross the field, but took a side hedge row until I got where the machine gun was. I sent them a grenade and got rid of them. I heard some Germans scream. Some of the German soldiers scream. My soldiers loved me, for I never sent a man ahead of me. I was their leader, and I supposed to lead. This happened to me twice. We're crossing the vine by a river. The commander came over and asked the same question. Who was in charge of this outfit? The same answer I gave it. And I told him I cannot expose my men to cross that river, sir. But I'll go out there myself if you want me to. I was afraid that the machine gun there waiting for anybody to cross that river and get shot. So I swam across and nothing happened. So I waved my man across. When the men crossed the river as usual, we continued our advance from hedge road to hedge road. It was painful, but what else could we do? In the heat of battle, you expect casualties. You expect someone to be killed, and you're not surprised when a friend is machine gunned down, and we had to keep on going. There was no time to more. That's what happened when my men were caught in an ambush, and they were screaming for help. A machine gun was spraying them with bullets from behind a hedgerow. They were my men. I was responsible for the safety. With the help of the Almighty God, they gave me the courage to charge forward. I crawled, I ran, I rolled over until I got to the hedge row where the machine gun was. I placed a rifle grenade to my rifle and fired at the machine gun. I got rid of it. I jumped on the other side of the hedge row, and to my surprise there were two Germans loading a rocket launcher ready to fire. When I emptied my rifle at them, killing them, and riddled the rocket launcher the bullets, so no one would use it in case I got killed. That's war. It's cruel, it's painful, it's hell. I was not a brave man or a macho man. I was only doing what we were taught to do, kill or be killed. That was the first day that we landed there in fresh territory. What was it you say you wanted us?
So, when you landed there the first day, you experienced all these experiences of the soldiers being killed, your friends and everything. Maybe you could tell us a little bit more about the experience that you had and some of high points while you were in the war, like also when you were with your men, certain men that you remember who were an impact on you and while you were there in going to Germany?
Oh, the Hacienda. When when we started that drive, through the country, I had a friend, real close friend of mine, that he was in charge of the squad. He was squad leader too, and was in charge of his men. And the funny thing about him, he was kind of a, well, I don't know what to say. He was brave or maybe he was youth. Yeah, he was young and daring. He was daring. He used to come to me and tell me, "Hey, let's go tease the Germans." And I look at him and say, "What the hell are you talking about?" "Yeah, let's go out there and tease them. Let's go on." "How are you going to tease them, Mato?" "Let's go. Come on, let's go." So I follow him when we go out there. We water our hedge, we cross the hedge and go over to the next hedge, which is about maybe 200 feet away, and we get behind that hedge and start shaking the trees, what I mean, on that hedge. And boy, those Germans, they just open fire with the machine gun, but we just got low on the behind that hedge, they wouldn't touch it because the bullet will hit that hedge, and that's the way we used to do. He was daring, but he's always this.
A daring person, huh?
Yeah, daring, but
Mr. Gonzalez, you were talking about how you and your friend would do these little playthings with the Germans, teasing them. What happened with your friend, and can you let us know more about what was going on with that?
Well, let me talk about. You ready?
Yes.
Let me talk about the time that I knocked the machine gun when the officer came and told me to cross that field with my men, and I told him, "No, sir, I'm not risking my men to cross that field because there's a machine gun up there that is destroying everybody that crosses that field." But I got there myself if he wanted to, so I went out there. But he thought I was going to jump the casual and cross that field. I wasn't about ready to do that because I've seen what was happening to other GIs that crossed that field. They were getting knocked off. But I thought I went along the hedge row until I came to the next hedge row. There was a cross and there was an opening. I crossed that opening and I tripped. I didn't know what I tripped on. So what I done by that when I tripped, I saw this nozzle of a machine gun that was sticking out, and I took a hand grenade and threw it into where that machine gun was, and I heard that those two Germans or more, I don't know how many were they screamed the harder, with the explosion of the hand grenade. Anyway, I went back up there and find out what the heck I tripped on. I wanted to find out what was there that I tripped on. So what I saw is a wire from a branch of a tree down to the ground. That's where I tripped, And I went up there and I said, I wonder what's under there. So I started digging around, like they taught us in training, you dig around and you stay real low with your head down and dig around. It might be a what you call it, a mine. So that's what it was. I started digging around and I got me a big cake like that. real thick, about 5 inches thick, as a big, about 12 inches around, my God. And I got it off and I cut the wire, That was a trip wire, that mine would have went off, but I don't know why it didn't. Maybe the Lord was with me, because when you trip it, you pull the trigger off, and it and it will explode. And when I trip, I fall down, but it didn't trip the trigger. So I went back and I got the wire off, and I got the doggone thing up here. Hey, I told the guys, look what I found. And everybody's the doggone scared. Said, put that thing down. That's a mine. That's a thick mine. I said, I know. So I put it on top of the hash, And then I continued to advance, and my man was behind me. And as soon as I started advancing, this old man always followed me. I don't know why, And I saw a German guy got one of those potato mashes grenade they used to have, and pulled the pin out and was ready to throw it at G Company. Was across the other hedge, and at the same time I fired my rifle at him and hit him, and he said, when he went, this grenade that he had here, he's already pulled the
Plug.
the safety pin off, and it exploded right over his head. By God, him blew the heck out of him before he threw the grenade. And when I shot him, I heard the shot behind me, and I turned around real fast with my rifle. I was gonna shoot the guy that the fire. I thought it was firing at me, and there was this old man. My God, he fired at the same guy I shot in Germany. I got real mad at him. I told him, don't you ever do that again. So I could have shot you. I got so doggone scared, man. I was going to shoot you out there. And he said, no, it's me, but it's me. I said, I know it's you now. Don't ever do that again. I go, I could have killed you right here. What's the matter with you? What are you following me for? Do you have people in the state that care for you? And his answer was, I told him, how come you stayed on the back with the other guy? And he said, his answer was, I feel more safer with you, Sergeant, than with the men on the back. So that's the way he was. Yeah, he followed me all over. I don't know why.
What was his name? What was his name? Do you remember his name?
I don't recall his name. There are lots of guys that went with me that I forgot their names. I remember maybe one or two, but I like Sergeant Cooper, and Sergeant Thorn Walther or something like that, but I don't remember very many names. I remember Rubino, I remember Salvatore, I remember they were Italian guys. But I don't remember very many other guys. I wish that I did, but because I like to find out what's happening with.
What were your experiences with Rubino and Salvatore?
On the what?
What were your experiences with them? What?
Salvatore?
And Rubino.
Rubino got shot one time and at Saint Germaindale. We were rigging all the terrain, and there was this guy named Ruiz and me and Rubino, and we crossed a road, and there was a barn. This big barn, but they have a window on the top of there where they throw the hay out. There was a barn up there, and Ruiz and his friend that crossed the street. Ruiz crossed the street first, and then his friend crossed the street. And Ruiz got by because maybe that German didn't have him zeroing, but as soon as that other one tried to cross the street, but he got shot. He got shot and fall down, and he started screaming for help. So Ruiz went back, tried to help him, and when he went back to where this friend of his was wounded, he got shot too, so both of them got killed right there. Me and Rubino, we crossed the street. I crossed the street and jumped the hedge and going to the other side, and there was an opening there. And I closed it open real fast, and Rubino tried to close it open, and he got shot. It's always the second guy, the one that got shot, because the first one ran real fast. By the third time that the Germans got zeroing, and they shoot the second one. So he got shot, but he didn't get killed. But he fell down, and then he started asking, screaming for help. And I said, gosh, if I go out there, it's going to happen to me the same thing that happened to Ruiz. So I stopped thinking a little bit, and then I said, I better crawl out there and give him a hand. So I crawled out there and stretched my hand out there and put him to safety. And that was the end of Rubino. I mean, he got wounded. He got lucky. He got wounded on the chest, and he got sent back to the hospital. Lucky for him. And that's about him that I know about Rubino. And Salvatore, after that incident about that machine gun, we were making a push, and when we made that push, we went up to a hill, and we saw the Germans digging in. They were digging in, and my company and I think G company were advancing, and we stopped when we saw those Germans digging in, So usually artillery observer with the soldiers in the front, they're supposed to be there to in case you need artillery. He's got his ready, and behind him and walkie-talkie, whatever you call them, and he will order a barrage or the artillery head.
Okay, you're talking about the artillery observer. Go ahead and continue on that.
Usually every company or every regiment has got an artillery observer. They're in the front line with the soldiers. In case we need artillery, and they were, to bombard the enemy or anything like that. There's the artillery observer that orders their artillery, And this time, this artillery observer, like I told you, we saw some Germans digging up there, a bunch of Germans digging in, and we stopped, and the artillery observer ordered some artillery, but he usually is supposed to order one round. It is a smoke or a color shell that is bust up there and tell you how far you are from your target. And they didn't do that. They start bombarding the heck out of all, because he was short. They were short in the barrage. They instead of shooting the Germans, they hit all. They hit F company and G company. And I tell you, boy, what a destruction! Whew. Whether soldiers without legs, without guts, spit all over, without heads, and all kinds of destruction, my God. And our barrage is very, very dangerous artillery because those shells are big. That's 155 millimeters, and they dig a big hole when they fall in the ground, and it bombarded the heck out of us, Magalia. Kept most of our men. I remember they must have called it artillery all because it soon lifted up, but already it caused a lot of trouble. And when the artillery barrage lifted up, I got up and I told Salvatore, I think it was, hey, let's get the heck out of here. Come on, let's run. So we start to run when here comes another sergeant, and he comes over there and says, hey, Julian, can you please cut this arm off? It was hanging on a ligament, just hanging there, the arm. And I told him, hell no, you let's call the medics. I'm not going to cut it off. So we kept walking, and pretty soon we heard a single shot, a single shell coming through the air. You can hear though, because our shells they don't travel as fast as the 88 the German had. The Germans 88 they travel so fast they scream, you're that fast, and as soon as there's fire, it only takes about a second or two before it hits the target. And our zones, it goes through the air. It goes up. You hear that,
Mm-hmm.
And this last shell that was coming in, I told Salvatore, hit the ground. Here's another shell coming in. So we hit the ground, we were about 10 or 12 feet apart, And that shell came in and landed between us. Nancy, I tell you, I was so pleased by that when that artillery shell didn't explode. It didn't explode. It fell between us two.
Oh my gosh.
And I told Rubino, let's get the hell out. Salvatore, I told, let's get the hell out of here because it's a dot. But let's get out of here before it explodes. But we start running, And then we heard the voice like it was real far. Help! Help! And I told the other guy, hey, somebody has to help. Hey, wait a minute, And it was right there next to us, it's a big pile of dirt, where this shell has hit the ground and made a big pile of dirt. It's a soldier, Sergeant Cooper was buried under there. So we start digging him out, we got him out, and he had all his neck tore down over here, bones are sticking out. And when he got him out, he says, hell, I'm gonna die. I know I'm gonna die. And then he said, hell no, I'm not worth dying. So we're gonna call the medics, and they came and pick him up. I don't know what happened to him, but he was in a bad shape. And we kept on running, and pretty soon, we stopped and counted dead and counted how many reflections we supposed to get. They kind of stopped it. Those things you don't hear it in the news or the newspapers, anything like that. Those are mistakes that are made in war, and they're allowed. I don't blame you because war is war, by the way, and sometimes you don't know who you're firing at, with the enemy or your own troops. Several times it happened like that. Airplanes are the same thing to us.
You got support from the Air Force then?
No, yeah, we got support from the Air Force because one time we were making the drive. We needed some support from the Air Force, and pretty soon we see this bunch of airplanes, those dive bombers and fighters coming over here and us. And hooray, we're going to get some help. And they came over, but and instead of strafing the enemy, they strafe us. They strafe our company. And boy, I tell you, what a disappointment. When they strafe you, boy, they strafe. And it was bad. Very bad, because you don't hear those things in the newspapers. But they do make mistakes, and I don't blame it. They're way up there, but they couldn't see. Probably they see a little bitty tiny soldier walking around there. They think it's a German soldier or something like that, and they're pretty happy too. Those pilots, but they fire at anything that moves. I guess. I don't know.
Which was the greatest advance that you can remember?
Our greatest push was from General Patton hit the bases there and start driving to Paris. Boy, that guy, I tell you, he had the guts. He just kept on pushing, and he wouldn't stop. He wouldn't give the Germans a chance to regroup or anything like that. He just kept on pushing and pushing by all, and I tell you, I never seen iron tanks burn like paper. Like those German tanks I saw, and some of the American tanks burning like paper, you know. And I was puzzled, and I said, how in the heck can an iron tank burn like that? How could it burn like that? You know, with big flames, the smoke and everything going through it. And then I started to think, I said, well, very simple, by God, you know, they're full of gasoline and oil and all that ammunition in there. Some of them get hit by God and they burst the tank of gasoline, but then they're allowed to catch on fire, you know, and you can see those doggone things burning like paper. And I said, I never seen a thing burn like that. And that was the greatest advance and the great push that General Patton made. Boy, he had the guts. That guy, I don't think we'll ever have another general like him. He really had the guts to push. And he would tell his soldiers, he was in front of the soldiers too. Don't get me wrong. He wasn't behind ordering the soldiers to do. He was right in front with his tank, by God. He even challenged Rommel in Africa. He told him, you come out with your tank and I'll come out with my tank and let's have it. Let's see who got more guts.
So you respected him a lot, didn't you?
Yeah. And you know, he stooped that low because he was always in front and he was always pushing. Even Eisenhower got mad at him because he couldn't stop. He didn't want to stop. He said, no, I don't want to stop. I don't want to give the Germans a chance to regroup. And I don't blame him, you know. You give the enemy a chance to regroup and you have a counterattack. And he didn't believe in that. He believed in keep on pushing. Until he ran out of gas. You know, he ran out of gasoline. Mm-hmm. And they told him to stop. Mm-hmm. And they told him what was the more important thing that he needed. He said, I need gasoline. Mm-hmm. That's what I need. Mm-hmm. And he said, what about soldiers? He said, no, soldiers are expendable, whatever that means. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He needed gasoline.
What about you yourself? What was was there a great advance that y'all went through in your division or your?
Our division was ordered by General Patton's order. He left some pockets of Germans that he thought it only take a few days to get rid of them. Go to Brest and get rid of pocket of Germans up there. And Brest was a submarine port the Germans had, you know, the submarine base. So the second division went up there. And it wasn't a day or two or a week or two. It was about a month. We stayed there fighting with Germans, you know. And a beautiful place, a beautiful city that Brest place was. Beautiful buildings, white building with a lot of vegetation on it. You could see the apple trees and pear trees, by God, full of pears and apples, and you go into one of those houses and you see the beautiful furnishing. They're beautiful. I tell you, I never seen furniture like that in those French houses there. But no people. I don't know what the heck the people were. I never saw a single soul there, not a single civilian. A lot of guys said, did you see any girls there? Were there any girls? Hell no, I wasn't the front line. There were no such thing as girls or women or old men or nothing there. I remember we made one push one time through France. And we went to a farmhouse and there was a dugout and it was covered with logs and a lot of dirt on top, and there was an opening there. And you know, we thought it were Germans in there. I thought it were Germans in there. I got my rifle and I shot through the door, you know, through the opening, and I heard a scream, you know, a woman scream. I said, "Oh my God, I just killed a woman." So I stopped firing, and pretty soon an old woman came out, you know, and her daughter and an old man. And I felt sorry for them. I felt so sorry for them, my God, because, you know, they were trying to escape from the bombardment and things like that. And here I am firing at that opening there. And I thought there were Germans in there, but it was not. It was old lady and his daughter and the old man. They came out, you know. I felt so sorry, and we had a partial payment of our wages, and I didn't know what to do with that money. That little bitty notes. I got the French notes, and I got a bunch of those doggone things, and I gave them to the old lady. And then I look at that girl. Hell, I'd been there fighting that war for a couple of months. But I look at that girl and I say, hey, I want to make love to you. I wanted to make love. I thought, oh, love. I don't know what the hell that in French that word means, but she ran home and brought me a basket of eggs. Oh, love. She had loves. I said, no, love. I want to make love to you. But I really had such a thing as time for that. I was only, acting funny, I guess, because we didn't have time for love or anything like that. But anyway, she brought me a basket of eggs, by golly, maybe a dozen or something like that. No, I don't want eggs, but I want to make love.
Did you get as far as Germany? Did your trip get as far as Germany?
Well, let's say, did our division went into Germany?
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's finish talking about how long we stayed in Brest fighting with Germans.
Okay.
We stayed there about 4 weeks or something like that, and they used to bombard us with a magnesium or shells, that explode right in front of you. With the magnesium that exploded, it was fire that spread all over, And they say that if one of those magnesium would get into your body or anything, you cannot put it out. Mm-hmm. You put it out, you put your hand on it, it goes out. As soon as you get your hand out, it starts burning again. See, I never got it. Well, we used to be bombarded by German airplanes at nighttime. They think that you could see that big ball of fire coming down is magnesium or something, and it would hit the ground and it's just explode. Fire jumping all over all directions. And they used to tell, better be careful that stuff it gets in you. You cannot put the fire out. Well, I don't know. I never got any. I got pretty close to it, but I was one time in a dugout of a French sailor there, and I was standing next to the window when a shell of magnesium fall there close to the window, and it fire all over, and I just run into the house, and into the cellar and escaped there. We stayed there fighting those. Let me tell you about those artillery. We didn't have no black guys fighting with us. Mm-hmm. They were not even ready with us. They were a separate group. They didn't fight together with the American and the Mexicanos. They had a separate group. And they usually were artillerymen. Let me tell you one time.
What do you mean by artillerymen?
They were artillerymen. They were the one that fired the cannons. The artillery. Yeah. They send the barrage to whenever you order a barrage. They send the barrage to where you order. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you one time. I heard a parade. During the war. Tum 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 tum. I thought it was a parade. It's just drums. Mm-hmm. And I said, "What the hell is going on?" I told her one of my. She said, "What? You hear that parade? Tum 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 tum." And pretty soon the shells would fall, and it would sound the same beat, the same rhythm. Uh-huh. Those guys, those black guys, they had a rhythm. Everything every time they fire a barrage, it was with a rhythm. You know what I mean? It sounded like drums, Tum 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 tum. And that the heck, it was funny, because they were good and bad. Those black guys. Mm-hmm. We stayed there, and one morning, real early in the morning, It was so foggy, real foggy. You could see your heads in front of you. I never seen fog like that. And orders came to attack. You're supposed to attack and capture your headquarters. The headquarters was a big mountain, and it was hollow. It was. They had the German had the headquarters in there. They had the bank. They had the payroll. They had the ammunition. They had the all the uniforms and things like that. It's a headquarters, And I'll tell you, when we made that attack, and we went through ropes, we came back down that mountain in the rope because it was so steep. It was a steep mountain. We came down and the Germans couldn't see us. They couldn't see us because it was so foggy. So we surprised them. We went up there. And we sealed the entrance to the cave. To that mountain. And we captured all the headquarters.
Wow. So you captured the headquarters in there.
Your father. Let me tell you what happened when we were fighting the Germans there. The officers came to our lines there, wanted to talk to our division commander or whoever was in charge of the army there. So we told them it could not be possible. The only way they could go is if they get blindfolded. They put a blindfold on their eyes, and somebody took them to headquarters. I don't know what headquarters it was, whether it was the division commander or the battalion commander or the company commander, but it must have been the division commander, because the division commander told them, my orders is to capture Brest at all costs. And you know what that means. All costs means they don't give a who how many soldiers will get lost. I mean, at all costs means at all costs. And those are my orders, and no deal. So they sent them back, and when they came back to our line, they took the bandage off and sent them to headquarters. Well, the headquarters, like I was telling you, on that foggy day, we came down that mountain on ropes, and they couldn't see us because it was so foggy, but you couldn't see your head in front of you.
These are the German headquarters you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That dug out the head of that mountain, And when we went down the ropes and we sealed the entrance to the headquarters, they had some prisoners of ours there. They had some American soldiers prisoners there. When those American prisoners saw that the GIs, they had to capture the headquarters, they made fun of the Germans. They said, now you son of this and son of that, do something about it, So we went in there anyway. We captured I got the commanders or whatever they were, and we started raiding the place, they had so much food in there. I tell you, those big cans of ham, big cans of ham, all kinds of food, all kinds of wine, cognac, and besides that, we capture the bank, where they're supposed to pay the army with that. And funny thing about it, we started playing with that money because we thought it wasn't worth anything, We started playing, getting that money and throw it up in the air, and big bills falling all over. And there was a smart sergeant there, He started picking out the biggest notes, and he got a cigar box full of those big notes, and sent it to the States. He told me later that they wrote him. Right? But this thing, sergeant, he was smart, Alec Bayard. He saw us throwing all this money out, but we thought it didn't have no value, the Francs, what the heck? I said, good throw, So he started picking out the biggest notes and put him in. You got a cigar box somewhere. You start putting in biggest notes there, And later on, he sent him to the States, with his kinfolks, I guess. Later on, he told me there was $10,000 worth of money that he sent home. He changed it at the bank. Yeah, there was 10,000. It was worth something. It was $10,000 worth. And I give my, God, honest, stupid me. Well, I didn't send nothing home. But I sent three, Navy jackets, leather Navy jackets, Germans, leather jacket. I sent 3 of them home. I think I sent a flag too, and I don't remember what else I'm saying. And it's a lucky thing they got home.
This is German army stuff they didn't send home.
German
Wars.
Navy,
Okay.
Navy, because there was a Navy base there.
And you were talking about, did you all get as far as Germany, your division?
Oh, I tell you, when we captured that headquarters, we saw all those officers and all those secretaries they had. They had a bunch of French women that were married to the officers, and they knew they were gonna get it, because they were traitors. They married
French
Germans, and they begged us to please take care of them, because they knew what was going to happen to them. The on the ground, the French on the ground. If they catch them, they cut the hair off, and then they stone them to death. They're being traitors, and they beg us, please take care of them. And it's up to the French people, whatever they want to do with it. And they were scared out there. And when they gave up, those officers, I guess they called the rest of the field officers. They were in charge of the soldiers out there. Because Patton told us, well, just a few soldiers there. It wouldn't take you very long to capture that fort. If it wouldn't be for that foggy day, I don't think we would have. I think we're still fighting over there. Anyway, we saw that road that was coming into that headquarters. As far as the eye can see, 8 abreast, 8 German soldiers abreast, and the line as long as the eye could see. There were thousands, and they all had their arms behind.
They're surrendering, huh?
Surrender. And from there, it was quick, When there, orders came to go into Germany, and we loaded up like cattle in a train, little bitty cars of the train. They were not as big as our cars here. They put us all in there like cattle. By God, a bunch of guys, and took us to. We went to Paris. We went to Paris first. I went to that arc, that Harper. What do you call it? Harper? Troy?
Brian?
Yeah, we went through there, and we went to Belgium. We went through the so we went to Belgium. You walk to the cities, city of Belgium. I don't remember that city we went through, but anyway, as the soldiers were marching to that city, that there were Belgians standing on both sides of the street, very happy, and some of those girls, by God, they were cheering, and and throwing flowers and kisses to the soldiers that going by there. Some of them would rush up there and give you a glass of wine, or sometimes give you a kiss. One of them rushed over to me by God and hugged me and kissed me, and I wanted to stay there. But no chance. But they were real nice people. Real nice people. We went through Belgium and into the on the way to relieve some of the company that were ahead of us, and we went through the Maginot Line. There was a line that the French people had there to stop the German tanks when they invaded France, but it didn't work that way. And then we went into the Siegfried Line, and the Siegfried Line we did for a little bit there, not very much, because they bombarded the heck out of those obstacles before we hit the obstacle, the dragon teeth they used to call it. There were cement pillars about that high, where the tanks don't zigzag so the tank wouldn't go through. But the foot soldier could get through. And from there we went to a bay. So we went into this forest close to Aiken. And my battalion commander called me up and he said, I want you to be my Eagle Scout. I said, my Eagle Scout? What the hell does that mean? He said, I want you to pick up 7 men and have them ready there. There's a little room there where you and your men going to be. And whenever I give you an order to go and reconnoiter the terrain or find out what their enemy is, I want you to do it. I hated that. Oh, I hate it more than anything else. Because I had to go through this American line, our lines, to go through, find out what the Germans were. And the thing was, I was a doggone scared coming back, because the American soldiers were so scared of everything that moved, especially in the dark forest there. It was so dark at night, man. Even if a leaf fall down and make noise on the ground, they open fire, Which I don't blame, because, they're scared to death. One night we went through our line, and we went find out where the enemy was. And we got so close to them, that when we were laying down on the grass there, on the two German guys, 2 German soldiers went by about 5 feet from us, They were talking in German. We don't know what they were talking about. And I told those guys, yeah, shh, keep quiet. They kept quiet, And pretty soon somebody made noise, And somebody made noise, the Germans started throwing flares, up in the sky, and a flare will illuminate all the ground there where you at. And I told those guys, just keep low, and don't stand up because they're throwing flares, find out where we at. And sure enough, they start throwing flares they threw about 3 or 4 flares, and they didn't see anything, so they just quit throwing the flare, When the flare died down, we got up and started walking back to our lines. But we were so scared to go back into our line because our soldiers were trigger happy, You had to find out the password, You didn't know the password because that night, they'll open fire and kill you. That's what I was afraid of. But I think that password that night was Brooklyn Dodgers, I think it was. That was the password. We went through our lines and all of a sudden they say, "Halt! Who was there?" And we had to give them the password. Otherwise, they local fire out. So I remember the password, and I told them the Brooklyn Dodgers, the password. Okay, advance to be recognized. So we had beds, and they let us go by. We went back to our room, but in the morning we're supposed to report everything that goes on. That went on for quite a while. I got tired of this stuff. I got going out and reconnoiter the terrain. Several times we met German patrols like we were. And we fought it out. I had a plan for it to meet. I told my soldiers, my guys, that in case something happened, we'll meet in such and such a place. And one day we went. This was the daytime. We went on a patrol. I always came to go on a patrol, find out who the enemy was. We went up there, and we went up to a ravine. It was something like an embankment going down. We came. There was some bushes there, and there was a wire stretching out one end of the bushes to another end up there. And I saw that wire, and I told those guys, "Don't touch that wire. Could have been a booby trap or something." All of a sudden, I say that, and two German soldiers were coming towards our way. They didn't see us go in the bushes, but we saw them coming towards us, and when I saw them, I opened fire, and I think killed one of them. I got in there. All of a sudden, all my soldiers opened fire on them too, And as soon as they empty their clip, eight bullets on a clip. As soon as they empty the clip, and they went back, and I put another clip in mine. I kept on fire, All of a sudden, I turned back to see who my men were, and no one around there, nobody around there, but the Germans start firing a mortar shell, right where we were, And I thought, well, I'm a dead man here, but I all by myself. The guys took off, So all I done is pick out my rifle. I hung it on my shoulder, and I said, I'm going to be dead anyway. So I started walking up the field, and shells falling all over. And I was walking there real cool, but those guys just kept looking at me. How do you do it? Shells falling all over, you didn't get hurt? I said, no. Where were you at? I told her, how come you run away? Left me all alone there. Well, they had no answer for that, Anyway, we went back to headquarters and reported what we got seeing, and they heard everything. They heard all the commotions that were going on between us and the Germans, and the battalion commander said, "That's a good job. You found out what the Germans were." I said, "Yes." I said, "I think we knocked a couple of them down, but it was in the ravine, and we couldn't go back and pick up the bodies, but we killed some of them." I said, "That's a good job." I kept doing that. We're here every day and every night with my man, and I was so doggone tired of that. I was there. We were there about a month, and I was so tired of that, but I was mad too, because why shows me to do that kind of a job, and there were some more smart guys than me by her. And I thought, well, maybe I was Mexican or something. I don't know, but because thoughts come to your mind. Anyway, I was tired, and I thought of the Almighty God, and I asked her. In my prayer, I knelt down, because the order came that we're supposed to go out there and find out what the German war again, When I was kneeling down and praying, and I asked God to please let me get wounded at least on a foot or something that I want to go back and rest at least a week or two. I was tired of fighting all this in June till November. That's about 5-6 months without relief, and I was tired. I was sick and tired of the war, and all of a sudden I finished praying out there, when one of my men came out of the room, and loading the machine gun, and all of a sudden, my God, a burp. He pressed the trigger on the machine gun, and the bullet just came close to my foot. Pretty near hit me. It didn't hit me, but pretty near did. And I thought at the time, I said, maybe God heard my prayer. Maybe I'm gonna get wounded. And we went on the patrol, and we met a patrol, a German patrol, going our way, and in between, and we got into shooting one another, And I had orders to my men to make a half moon. I was in the middle, and I used to tell them, "Don't shoot me, but just shoot all the way around, but don't shoot me. I'm gonna be in the front." But I was up there in the front when I saw this German patrol coming to where we were, and I opened fire on them because they were coming straight to where I was. As soon as I opened fire, I killed one of them. He fall down, all of a sudden, my men opened fire too, but they took off as soon as they got through firing the clip. That they took off, and I stayed there behind a big rock there, and I got out and looked around for my men were, but they were all gone, but I was all there alone. So I just walked back out there where I told him to meet. We were all up there. I asked him, "How come you run away, man?" And we're afraid. And I went up there to the headquarters, and they heard all the commotion, all the firing, and I reported to the battalion commander. I told him what happened, what has happened. I told him I killed one of them. I know that I killed him, and he fall down. And he told me, "And you didn't took any insignia, his cap or a shirt or something like that. They expected you to get in there and after you get a shootout with them, but they expect you to go out there and pick up anything, any identification. You know what I mean? That's what they wanted, identification of who was in front of us. And I was not about to go out there by myself and the rest of the Germans were still alive. I wasn't going to go out there and pick up a cap or a shirt or a shoe or whatever. You have to prove by what kind of outfit was in front of me. Anyway, he shoot me out and said, go out there right now. Go out there and get me his cap or his insignia on the uniform or anything. We want to know who is in front of us. I gathered my man again and I say, "Well, okay, let's go. Let's go and find out see if we could find that guy by God and take the insignia off and come back and show it to the battalion commander or whatever." I told him, "Anybody got the guts to go out there and get an insignia or a cap, but that soldier is not me either." "Well, if you people ain't going, I'm not going to go either." But I don't want to get shot by it. So I told him, "Let's stay here a little while, and then we go out there and tell the battalion commander they have picked him up." We couldn't find him. That's what happened, I wasn't about ready to go out there, be crazy and look for the dead guy, but maybe they already picked him up. Who knows? And I wasn't going to go out there to the German lines and try to pick up. They're crazy, man. I wasn't that cuckoo to go out there. I told my men, any one of you done guts enough to go out there and get the uniform or whatever you can get. No, not me either. Not me. Nobody wanted to go. I said, "What if you guys ain't going to go? I ain't going to go either." We stayed there a little while and then we went back to headquarters and that. I think they picked him up already, sir. He showed me out. He said, "Next time you get it, whatever they're wearing. We don't want to know what's in front of us." And that's the way it was, Then the following day I went again, another patrol again. But I had a sign already from God, I guess. I don't know, but I think it's a sign by God that I was gonna get wounded that day. We went out the patrol, and coming back from the patrol, I stepped on a landmine and blew the heck out of me and blew me up, and I fall down, and I started laughing because the guy that was behind me, the big, must have been like a Polak or a big guy, and he had a little bit of shrapnel on his hand right here. And he started running. He was those big goose steps. I started laughing because he looked so funny running, And I started laughing like hell. I couldn't stop that. And then I got up. I didn't feel nothing on my foot, I didn't feel that the explosion of the mine, you know. I got up and I started walking, and some of the soldiers said, "Sergeant, you got blood all over your leg." And I look out there, and sure enough, from here down, the pants were red, you know, and my boot was like where I was walking, full of blood, and I felt a fainting, you know. When I saw that, I don't know what got into me. I felt fainting, you know. And so what I done, I sat down. I thought, go and call the medic to come and pick me up. But they went and called the medic, you know. The medic came by. They put me on a stretcher and they picked me up and they took me away. And my soldiers were real sad, real sad. And then they took me away and to the rear, you know. They had a big tent up there. There was the pastor. When I went in there, they give me a shot, you know, and they give me pecked me all over with some kind of dope or something on the wound, you know, and they tore my pants off, and they look at my leg, and some of my toes were missing, and shrapnel all over the leg there. And they pecked me with some kind of dope, you know, and I didn't feel anything. My leg went numb, you know. But they started operating right there on the front lines, you know. Some doctors started operating, getting all the shrapnel out. My toes were hanging on little threads there, and they kind of put them together and put me on a cart where I put here. And they sent me back to Paris, to the hospital out there. I stayed there about 2 weeks in Paris hospital. From there, they sent me to England. And I stayed there in the hospital, gosh, about 4 or 5 months. When I was there, I saw one of my soldiers that was with me. He used to go on patrol. He came into the hospital there, and he had one arm left, one arm gone. I mean, and he saw me and he started crying. You know, he had one arm left, you know, and one arm gone. And he told me, Sergeant, when you left, they gave us a mean sergeant. He said, he wasn't like you. He used to send us ahead first, and he was on the rear. You know, yeah, that's the way you're supposed to be. The sergeant not supposed to go in front, but I used to go because I felt sorry for my man, because they were young guys that are unexperienced, and most of them were recruits, you know, the replacements, and I felt sorry for them. They didn't know anything about war, so that, you know, they felt real bad when I got wounded. And this guy told me, when you left, they sent us a sergeant that he used to send us first, you know, and then we stayed on the rear, giving order. And she stayed there for a while, and I stayed there for about 3 months or something like that in the hospital. I was convalescent. And that's when the orders came by Ipan. These two officers came over looking for Sergeant Gonzalez, Julian Gonzalez. And I told them, here I am. And they told me, get your uniform on because you're wanted at headquarters. I says, gosh, I wonder what the hell I done now. I'm going to get court-martialed or something there. I was so doggone scared by it when they told me that. So I put my uniform on, you know, and they were waiting for me outside. And the snow was about that high, you know. It was snowing and real cold, you know. And I got into the Jeep, you know, and they drove me out to headquarters, you know. When I went up there, it's a big field, you know, and that field was full of soldiers, you know, waiting for me. And I went out there, you know. I got off the Jeep, and there a bunch of generals, you know, a bunch of generals there, and they stepped, you know, they put their heels together and they salute me, you know. You know, what the hell is going on? So I salute them back, you know. And then one of the generals came over to me and with a medal, and he started pinning the medal on me, the Distinguished Service Cross, and he says, you're a great hero. And my answer was, yes, sir. A hero, but today, tomorrow, I'll be pawning my my medals for a cup of coffee. And he kind of looked at me kind of funny. I shouldn't have said that, but it came to me that what is a medal, by golly, A medal. I didn't know what a medal was, but I told him, yes, a hero today, tomorrow I'll be pawning my medal for a cup of coffee. He kind of looked at me real funny about it. And then taps started playing, and everybody was saluting, Everybody saluting me, by gosh. But I was so doggone scared. I thought for sure I was going to get some kind of cold martial or something that I done wrong, And it wasn't that way. So I was glad that it happened. Yeah.
What an honor.
Well, yes. It was an honor, I guess.
And after that,
but what I told the general, what got into me, I don't know. What got into me that I told him, yes, sir. A hero today, tomorrow I'll be pawning my medal for a cup of coffee. Which is true, those poor GIs after they got out of the army, they sold their medal for anything. Like they were hungry, they were starving to death because there were no jobs. They were, we had a hard time when we come out of the army.
So when you came out of the army, what happened after that? Where did you go after that? After you were in England, or did you come back to the United States after that?
Well, I'll tell you another story. When I went back to the barracks, and I was a hero, and everybody was admiring me and this and that, And one night, two big guys, real big, tall guys dressed in black came out. They were called what they call the policemen up there in England. They don't call them policemen. They call them
in peaks.
Bully.
No, they call them they got a funny name. They didn't call them policemen. Two policemen came out there.
Bobbies?
Huh?
They were Bobby.
Bobs, yeah, Bobs. They call them Bobs. Two Bobs came over there. And they asked for Julian Gonzalez, start signing. Julian Gonzalez, here I am. And they got me in a separate from the rest of the guys there, And they asked me, we understand that you went out with a woman. She was a deserter from the very British Army or British something. I don't know what it was. She was a deserter. She was, and they were looking for her. They found her, and I'll tell you a little bit about that. One day I went to a movie, and I was standing there on the line to go into the movie, and here comes a I don't know, he was British or Irish guy, and he told me, "Hey, sorry, you want a woman?" Yeah, sure, I want a woman. They were come on over to my house. I went over to his house, and he had to do me to a girl, and I stayed that night with a girl there, and I didn't know she was a deserter. I didn't know she used to be what they used to call the women in the British Army, waifs, or something like that. And they investigated me, and they found out that they did found that girl, and she squealed on me. She said that I stayed with her, and I gave her some money. Well, I gave her some of those British sixpence or whatever they call them, And I felt sorry for her because She didn't get nobody to give her any money or anything like that. So I felt sorry for her. And they asked me, "Do you pay for the services?" I say, "No, I didn't pay her for the services. What I done, I felt sorry for her. I gave her some money to go and heal, something like that. But she didn't charge me anything. But she wanted to know whether, she charged me for the services. I said, no, she was a good girl, but she said, you know what she was? She's a deserter. She's gonna go back to the job. By golly, I mean they're gonna put her in prison for deserting the army or whatever she was in. And they said, we'll come back tomorrow and investigate you some more. We want to know more about this girl. I said, okay. So they left. And I was lucky. That night, the orders came. All the wounded soldiers get into the transporting, and they were gonna ship us to the States.
Yeah.
And that night we went into the boat, and that same night they're supposed to come the following day to investigate me some more. And I was lucky by that I got into the boat and I left to the United States.
When you went to the United States,
I came to the United States. Yeah.
where did you go first?
Well, we went
Back
we came to New York. We saw that the Statue of Liberty again. We came to New York, and from there they took us to some army camp there and give us a place to stay. And the ones that were wounded like me, but they took us to a hospital and kept us there for a while. From there they shipped us back to San Antonio. The place where you got inducted, into the service.
Mm-hmm.
So I came back to San Antonio, and I stayed here in the San Antonio a couple of months in the hospital yet. I was still convalescing on the wounds I received on the leg. And
That's where you were when you heard about the war ending? Is that where you were when you heard about the war coming to an end?
No, I was in the hospital for a while, and then they gave me a furlough. They gave me I think it was a month furlough to go home. I went home. I stayed there at the house. I went to my hometown, and I stayed there for about a month. I had a good time out there. Oh God, I had such a good time when I went home. I got everybody was coming and congratulating me for all my actions, and I had I had more girls than I could handle. Well, they all came over, and we have my sister and other threw out a party for me, and boy, we had so many girls there.
Is this the time when you had that friend of yours that from Edinburgh? You were talking about there's other soldiers there that were heroes, maybe?
No.
Were they there at that time?
No, you talking about Cano? No, no, Cano came later, but after I got out of the service. And I was staying here in San Antonio, and Lopez was Lopez? Jose Lopez was a recipient of the Congressional Medal of Honor. He was a real good friend to me. We were too close here in San Antonio. We used to associate together, And in fact, he was the one that gave the orders to give me a disability. They didn't give me a disability when I got out of the service. They didn't give me a disability. I was so anxious to get out of there, but when you get out, they ask you, "Is anything wrong with you?" And he would say, "No, I'm okay." I was anxious to get out of there to go home,
Mm-hmm.
When Lopez found out that I was wounded, I said, "You mean you tell me they didn't give you a disability?" I said, "What is that? A disability? You got wounded?" "Yeah, I got wounded." What do you mean disability? "I'm okay now." "No, you're supposed to get a disability." Well, he was working at the time. He was working with a VA because the Congressional Medal of Honor. They're big shots. They're congressional medals. They that's why they call it Congressional Medal of Honor because it was given by them from the Congress of the United States, given that medal. Me, I had the highest award in the Army, but he had the highest award in the Congress. You know what I mean? So he was working with the VA, and he told me, "No, you're gonna get 50% disability, and I'm gonna get it for you." So he worked on it, and he gave me 50% disability. At that time was nothing, it's about $60 a month, but at least he gave me a 60% disability. Before I had 10% disability. That's what they gave me. He said, "That's not right. You're a lot more. You've done a lot more for this country than anybody else, and you deserve a lot more than 10% disability. They're crazy." And the VA, I'm going to tell you the truth. The VA is not for the veterans. The VA is for the government. The VA is always doing something for the government, not for the VA. I don't give a damn what they say. The VA, by God, is always discriminate the veterans. They can come over to me and tell me about it, but I tell them it's nothing but discrimination, because they had a you're supposed to go every month or every 2 months to get a check on your disability. The VA used to call you, and they had a German guy named Schultz. I think it's German, ain't it? Schultz, and he was the one that checked you and everything. He was a German, and every time I go out there, he would lower my disability. He would lower my disability. Lopez gave me a 50% disability. He lowered every time I went to check my disability. He gave me 10% down until he came out to 10% again. And Lopez was not in there anymore. They called him out to Washington. He was up there in Washington by parading with big parade with the big shots. He was a Congressional Medal of Honor. So they lowered me so low by golly that I don't know. I had to join the Disabled American Veterans, and the Disabled American Veterans, they done a little bit for you, but not very much. And they raised me my disability to 30%, because of the Disabled American Veterans. Otherwise, I would have had a 10% disability from that German doctor. By golly, he hated me. He hated me because he knew what I'd done out there with a fellow man, his German people out there. He knew what I'd done.
So tell us a little bit again about your friend Kano that was in the valley. You said that after
a while,
the incident that happened with him.
Yes, I came back in the valley, and I found myself a girl, and I got married.
Where did you meet your girlfriend at?
I met her in town. One time I was laying out there and by the cathedral. They had a plaza out there where a lot of girls hang around, and I was laying there on the grass, and I saw a girl coming toward me. She wasn't looking for me, but I was looking after her, and then she was coming toward me, and I thought about, that's the girl I want, and I'm gonna get her. But she came over to close to where I was laying, and I stretched my arm like that for her to pick me up, and she picked me up, I had the front there when we went walking, into town. We went into the post office, and I asked her if she wanted to go with me to the movies, And she said, "Well, I don't know. I have to ask my mother. You waiting for me here? I'm gonna ask my mother." So she went out there into town, and I was there at the post office waiting for her. And pretty soon she came with a friend. It was not her mother; it was a friend. And she said, "This is my mother." And so she introduced me to her, and she said, and she said, "Well, you want to go out with her, with my daughter?" All right. I said, "Better be careful with her, but she is my daughter, and she wasn't her mother." And so I took her to the movies. We got out. I didn't let her go home. I kept it for myself. As a,
So you eventually
I married her, yeah, I eventually. And
what was her name?
Severa Trevino.
Trevino.
And I kept her for about a week, and her mother was looking for her. And they finally find us. We had an apartment. At that time, an apartment was $2 a night, which was nothing, Well, it was a lot of money because I was only getting paid by $30 a month for being in the army, But anyway, I stayed there about a month, about a week on an apartment, and her father was looking for her. And we were in the apartment where we heard steps coming up, going. We were up in a room upstairs, and we heard some steps coming over, and knock on the door. And I asked, "Who is it?" And he said, "I'm looking for my daughter." Uh-oh, you better answer the door. But she went out there, and he found us, and he was real nice to me, real nice. And he told me, "You don't have to be here paying rent. How come you don't go over to my house? I have a garage apartment there. You can live there." And he didn't get after her. He didn't get after me. So, and he said, "You're welcome to come to my house. I got a garage apartment there you can use." So I went out there with her, and we met her mother. Her mother was mean. She didn't like me. Oh, we always quarrel. We always get into an argument, And she used to tell her daughter, "How can you fall in love with this stranger? He's nothing but a stranger. He's a stranger. How you can fall in love with you? I had another guy to marry you, and you're gonna marry this stranger." And her father used to come out and tell her, "You shut up. You leave him alone, but they know what they're doing. It's none of your business. Just leave him alone." I used to like this. Her father, he was good to me, but her mother was mean. Oh, we used to get in a fight all the time. One time we argued,
How long did you live there with her?
My mother was kind of mean to me, but that's okay. My father-in-law always be on my side. He was always defending me and his daughter. He used to love his daughter a lot. So we got along, pretty fair. And so the nuns, the Catholic nuns, start coming over to the house and asking questions whether we were married or not, and we told them we weren't married yet. So say, "Well, you better get married by the church. You committed a big crime. I got a big sin by not getting married." Well, we went ahead and got married anyway. And during that time, Lopez came over to me one time and told me, "Hey, there's a guy in Edinburgh. We had to go out there. Mr. General Wainwright is coming over to decorate." I said, "What about it?" "Well, you know what happened? Kind of got a medal through the mail at the post office." And kind of was kind of ignorant. He kind of he didn't know. We are like me. We didn't know what the hell the medal was, and he got this package through the mail, and he opened it there, and he saw there was this box with this medals, and there was a guy there, and this guy was a San Antonio reporter, news reporter, and he says, "Sir, what this means?" And this guy looked at it and says, "You got this through the mail?" He said, "Yes, I don't know what it is." He said, "Guys, this is the highest award the Army could issue a soldier." He said, "You got it through the mail? They didn't supposed to send it through the mail." He said, "I'm going to get after them." So that's why he called on General Wainwright. And General Wainwright
came over, invited Lopez, and Lopez invited me, and we went over to Edinburgh, and there was an old courthouse there at the time, beautiful courthouse. I don't know why they knocked it down, and there was supposed to be a big parade, in honor of Petrocon, and Cano was in the middle, and I was on the left hand side, and Lopez on the right hand side. And we were riding a convertible through town, all these people around there, it's a big parade, because and we rode to the courthouse, and we went upstairs. Was a balcony upstairs, way up high on the courthouse, and we all went riding, and Lopez and me went up there. From there, General went right, made a speech about Cano, what he has done and all that kind of stuff, and that's how he got decorated, by General Wainwright and Lopez and me, Nashi.
I'm Cano.
Well, Cano was the one that was gonna get decorated, and right there, Wainwright pinned the Distinguished Service Cross on him. And I didn't know anything about me, but I got decorated in English, so I didn't give a who, That's I just thought, but he got the same medals I had, and that was it.
And then what happened after that? Did you go back to San Antonio? Did you notice that there was any difficulties that you faced in your work, in your career, business, anything after the war, like because you were a Mexican American?
Well, not only me, but everybody was suffering, because there was no jobs at the time. All those thousands of soldiers getting out of the army, and no ways to find a job. I remember that I left Edinburgh because there was no job. But I didn't want to pick cotton and pick oranges and grapefruit at the time. So my father wanted me so bad to stay there, and he was gonna make an extra room at the house for me. I told Daddy, I don't want nothing to do with the farm. I don't want to pick oranges. I don't want to pick cotton. I want to go back to San Antonio, and see if I can find a decent job out there. That's why I came back to San Antonio. And tried to find a job, which it was hard, very hard. There was no jobs at the time. You know what happened to me one time? Looking for a job, I got up in the plaza there in town. Everybody would gather around there trying to find a job, and the people were out there looking for laborers, and the people would run to the cars, with these guys that come to looking for labor, And I remember me and Navarro is a friend of mine. He was in the army too, and we were looking for a job, and we ran to this car, the first car that stopped there. We ran out there, and we got in. You don't even get invited to go in. And now the guy was so hungry for a job, but I jumped in the car, and he jumped in the car, and the lady took off. And on the way she said, I got a yard that I need the grass cut. Well, good, we'll do it for you. And I didn't know anything about yard cutting or anything like that. And so the other one didn't know anything about it. So she bought this old house, and the grade was about over a foot high, And there were in those days there were no lawnmowers. What do you call this lawn?
Yes,
Just lawnmowers at that time. It was push lawnmowers, what I mean. So I said, how much you charge me to clean all this it's a big lot, about 50 by 150, And of course, they had a house in the middle.
I look at it and I asked that guy, how much he will charge it? And well, I don't know, all depends on you.
But yeah, whatever you want to charge it. So I look at the lady and I told her, what about $7? Good. Oh, go ahead, clean it up. We didn't know what we were getting. God almighty, she brought a push lawnmower.
Oh my gosh.
And some hose and a rakes and we stayed there about a week and I played that album for $7. Oh my God. Oh, we didn't know anything about that. We didn't know anything about cutting yards or anything like that.
But didn't the Army have any kind of, didn't they train you or something?
No, man. When you get out of the Army, you're on your own. There ain't nothing that you can do. They had this problem that they could train you to find a job and this and that, But I didn't have no education. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't pass the test for anything.
Mm-hmm.
So they gave me a job as a furniture repairman, and I thought that was good. I wanted to learn that trade. You know what I mean? Furniture repairman and upholstering and things like that. And I took it. I took that job, and I wasn't learning to be an upholsterer. I was a laborer. That's what I was. They had girls there, girls that work all through the war, making furniture and upholstering. Like they were experts because they went through for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And here a green guy like me trying to learn upholstery about it. And the first thing they put me to do, you know what? Stain legs of chairs and sofas, and then stain them on a thing full of stain, And that's all I was doing. I was doing that for about a month, and I'm not learning anything here. This is labor. This is not learning anything. The girls were the ones that were doing the work. They were experts,
Mm-hmm.
and they wouldn't put a unexperienced guy to do furniture work or upholstery when they had those experts, making money.
Mm-hmm. So
All they wanted the GI is to labor. That's what I was, a labor, staining legs, staining wood. So for that, and one Friday, the guy that owner of the place says, "Well, I don't think we have any work tomorrow. Is that we're caught up with the work?" And then I said, "Well, good. Then I'll go to the valley. I'll go and see my kinfolks like that." So I took off and went to the valley. And those days, gasoline was real cheap, So I took the bus. I didn't have a car, so I took the bus and I went to the valley. And when I came back Monday, you know about that guy told me, the one that has a furniture? He said, "You didn't come to work Friday, so you don't have no more job." I said, "Well, you told me there wasn't going to be any work. You told me that I could go, because I got caught up with the job." I said, "No, you didn't come Friday. So you better we're going to call your, what do you call this guy that, case worker? The case worker. I could call the case worker, and the case worker got after me and told me that I couldn't stay there anymore because I skipped the training." I said, "What training?" "Well, I wasn't training anything. I was a laborer here. What I was doing, I was extending the legs of the chairs, and so far the girls were the one that doing the upholstery. I wasn't learning anything. It's labor. It's labor." "Well, I'm sorry," he said, "but you just can't. We have to look for another program for you." So they put me to repair shoes. And I hated it, because you had to stand on your feet all the time, and I couldn't stand on my feet because I was, I had that shoe.
Yeah.
I couldn't stand there, so I told the case worker, I said, I can't take this job. You're standing all day long, on car cement. I just can't stand. My leg hurts a lot. So I quit. I said, "I'm quitting. I'm not gonna." I quit. So I didn't get no training in any kind of. So from there on, I went looking for jobs, And one day, a friend of mine told me, Oh, let's go to Fort Worth. They say there's a lot of pecans up there, and they pay $7 a hundred taking pecans. Okay, that's cool. We went up there too early. Too early. I think it was September. It was the pecan was not even opening up yet. We stayed out there a week by God, and we trashed those trees by God, and the pecan wouldn't fall down because they were green yet. Oh my God! And so I left. I left and came back to San Antonio. And I was home when a friend of mine came over and said, "Hey, you want a job?" Yeah. He said, "Go out there, Sacramento and Blanco." He says, "It's a guy there, comes every morning and pick me up." He said, "But I'm not going out there with that guy anymore." He says, "He's too mean. He's a German guy, you know. And his name is Mr. Marble, and he's mean. If you want a job, you can go out there." I came over. I took the bus real early in the morning. I came over. I was already waiting there. But by the time Mr. Marble came over and at Sacramento, there's an oil filling station there. And I was waiting for him there, and I saw him. I saw this guy came out of the car, and he went to looking back and forth all over. He was cursing. He said, "Oh, those Mexican, this Mexican, this is Mexican, that." And I asked him, "Are you looking for so and so?" "Yeah, where the heck is he at?" He said. I thought, "He's not coming anymore." He said, "He told me to come over and take his place. If you want to, I can work for you." And another Mexican, he said, should we say, "All right, come on, get in the car." Well, I got in the car and I went out there with him, you know. And he was making a room, a flat roof room by guys, the house. And he told me, "You think you can do this work here?" I said, "Yeah, sure, I can do it." I didn't know anything about carpenter work, you know, but I told him, "Yes, I can do it." So he said, "I want this patio here, this room cover up. And the material is there, and the lumber is here, his layers and nails are there, and go ahead and start." So I started working, you know. I started working there. He took off. He was an alcoholic. He used to carry a quart of 4 Roses and a 6-pack of 7-Up in his car all the time. He was drinking all the time. He was drunk. So he left me there. And he didn't come back till about 5 o'clock. By the time he came back, I had that roof cover up. I had a roof up and ready to put the shingles on. And he came back, and at 5 o'clock he looked at it and said, "That's pretty good, pretty good." And then the owner of the house came out and he said, "Mr. Marbuck, you know, this guy knows more than you do." And I didn't know anything. But he thought, "This guy knows more than you do. Look what he's done today." But he done a lot of work. And he, Mr. Marbuck, yeah, sure, he said, "Well, come back tomorrow." I came back the following day and started working there. From there on, I worked with him. I worked with him about 5 years, you know. And he didn't pay me very much. He only paid me at the time about 75 cents an hour, which was pretty good. At the time, I used to work for, when I got out of the army, I used to work for 15 cents an hour, you know, patching tents and some Jew, by God, you know, buying all the used tents and all the old things from the army, and they put me to work there. By the way, up here got electrocuted by one time. By God, with this guy. You know, he had an old shack up there on Florida Street, and he told me, "I want you to paint this house, paint this place here." It was all what I mean, painted, but no color. I want you to paint. I was painting by God, and I had a scaffold board up there, you know, and I was painting quite, you know, the building, and there was 2 wires coming from the telephone pole to the house, you know. And I was spinning around those wires, you know, and they were not insulated. They were bare. They were old. I was spinning around those wires there, and pretty soon I touched the 2 wires, and boy, the electricity lifted me up from the scaffold board. It lifted me up and up. I couldn't get loose. No, I couldn't get loose from that electricity. So what I done, you know, I have a lot of faith in her. I had faith in her, and I said, "Please, Mother, if you will, but let me get loose out of this. And all of a sudden I said that, and boy, that electricity let me loose like that. He said that electricity either kill you or let you loose. It let me loose right away like that, and I fall down. I fall down on the scaffold board, about 10 feet high up there. And I look down there, and it's all these old chows and pigs and all just sticking up like that. And I would have fall down there, I would have got killed for sure. So that's why I got a lot of faith in her. I love her, and I don't care what anybody thinks about her.
So were you still married at the time?
Yes, I was married. I was married at the time, and I went through a lot of.
What happened to your wife?
My wife, she was okay for about 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and then she started getting sick. She started getting skinnier and skinnier.
What?
Well, I didn't know what she's sick about, And then finally I found out that she had tuberculosis, And I put her in the hospital with tuberculosis, and I used to go see her every weekend up there. And they told me that there were no cure for her, but I had to take her back home. I had to go back home to her mother, She had a room there, and she stayed there. She stayed there for about, I don't know, maybe a couple more months later that. And she got worse and worse and worse until she finally, my mother-in-law came over and she said, your wife wants you over there. I was in the car, I was staying in the car there because I couldn't stand there anymore, so she came over and said, Savannah wants you over there. So I went out there, As soon as I went in the room there, and I got close to her, and she stretched her arms right there and hugged me, and I hugged her, and she started, doing like that, and she passed away in my arms. And that was the end of my life.
And you were still working for that man as a carpenter?
Yeah, I kept working for Mr. Marvick, and I got pretty good at it, because he left. I wanted to learn that trade so bad, I liked it, and I liked the kind of trade, carpenters making homes, repairing homes, and all that kind of work, I learned all that trade. I learned how to make homes, how to throw cement on the floor, and make a cement floor and porch, and I knew how to roofing and all that kind of stuff, I learned everything. In fact, we went to Port Aransas to make some cabinets up there, and up there you're gonna need a permit. At the time, he bought a lot of lots up there. We made must have been about 10 or more cabins up there, And I used to do all the work. I used to do the building, and I used to do the plumbing. I used to put the electricity and all that kind of stuff, because they did have no inspectors there at the time in Port Aransas. Well, I learned all that trade out there.
While you were working and doing all that, did you notice any kind of racial conflicts during that time?
Well, racial conflict was always at the time, you couldn't get a decent job for anybody, The way that Mr. Marbert used to treat me, he used to call me Mexican this and Mexican that, Once he used to get mad, and we used to get mad at one another, I used to call him squarehead, but he was German, He used to call me Mexican, and I used to call him a squarehead. And we used to argue back and forth, but he liked me, because the kind of work I used to do, and he used to invite me to his house, and go and eat there, and his wife used to like me a lot. Treat me real nice. He used to get drunk, and he would let me leave me at the job, and sometimes he would go over to my house and middle of the night and woke me up and tell me drive me home or take me to town, and that's what I used to do. He came over, and he had that confidence in me, and And we used to go to the beer joints here in San Antonio, and he used to give me his wallet to say, here, take care of my wallet. Okay, like I was saying, but we're talking about my
Mark.
boss, my Marburg. Little Marburg, yeah, I know. He used to be good in a way, and in a way he used to be he would insult you, but I mean, he would insult me. He would say you Mexican this and you Mexican that, and I used to call him a scorehead because he was a German. And we got to the point where we hit each other. He called me names and I called him names back. But he used to like me a lot. We went to Port Aransas to make some cabins up there, like I told you, and from there on, my God, I'll run the trade real good. And one day, he was making a room on a old folks home, and he came over and told me, that year, my God, it got real cold. He had a son-in-law that was a chicken raiser. He used to have a chicken farm, and that year that was real cold. His son-in-law lost 5,000 chickens. Well, dead, I got it frozen anymore. So he went broke. And that was his son-in-law. Yeah. So we were making this room in a old folks home, and one morning he came over with his son-in-law, and he said, "Hey, shorty, he's gonna be your foreman from here on." Foreman? Yeah, he's gonna be a foreman here. But okay, I didn't hit it foreman. I was, by myself all the time, and he was never at work anyway. He was out drinking all the time. I said, foreman, what do I need a foreman for? Anyway, we started building that room, in the hospital. And at the time they had this new cage in the windows coming over, They wanted to have a crank up there, they open up to the side like that. And he's supposed to put one on one side, not supposed to put another on the other side. Well, I put mine on my side, I plastered real nice, and the crank, where it's supposed to be. And my foreman, he had another side of the window, and he put his window upside down with the crank up there. And Mr. Marble came in the afternoon, and he looked at my window there. He said, "Oh, that's pretty good, Shorty, pretty good." And then he went and looked over to his son-in-law by the window, and keep on out of where he used to put the crank. It was upstairs, up on the side there. He got mad as heck by the he started cursing me, and he told me, "Don't you know these windows put on wrong?" I told him, "I don't know anything about that window, but here's my window. You can talk all you want about my window. You can get after me about my window, but I got nothing to do about that window. He's supposed to be my foreman. He's supposed to know how to cut the window bolt." So he got real mad at me. He started cursing me right in front of the nurses there, and I got so mad at him, because he was cursing me right in front of the nurses there, And I said, "You know what, Mr. Marvel? I don't have to work for you anymore." So I took my paper, all by God, and my hammer. I threw it out of the floor. I said, "Hey, goodbye. I don't have to work for you anymore." "What are you going to do now?" He said, "You're going to starve to death, by God. When you came to looking for a job, you didn't have but the collar or your shirt or your neck, and that's all you had." But he insulted me that way in front of the nurses. I think that's a double man. And I took off, and I went home. And at the time, I had met a woman, that I used to like a lot, and she had a home, and I went over to the house, and we got acquainted pretty good, we were in love with each other, and she invited me to stay with her at her house, and I did, and when I told her that I had lost my job, and she looked at me and said, "What are you gonna do now? You ain't got no job. What are you gonna do?" I said, "Don't worry about it. I'll get a job." So I thought about it, and I said, "I'm gonna put an ad in the paper: reasonable repair and remodel, and see what kind of a luck I had." And so I put an ad in the paper. It told me $11 a month. It wasn't bad. So I put it ad in the paper, and the following week, by golly, I had more work that I could handle. By it, I had to hire me 3 or 4 guys to help me because I had so much work to do. And that's the way I went on my own. And that week that I quit, Mr. Marber came back. He was a good pay. He was always paying me good. I mean, pay me. He never skip a payment. And I had worked 2 days that week, and I didn't care whether he paid me or not. I wanted to get away from here. So he came about Friday evening. He came over and started making a check, and he gave me the check for the 2 days I worked and said, "I want you to go at such and such a place, and I got a job there for you, and I want you to go out there Monday." And I told Mr. Marber, "I'm not working for you anymore. I got more work than I can handle, and I'm not working for you anymore." You remember I told him I was going to quit? And he looked at me real sad, tears in his eyes. He said, "Well, I don't want to lose you, but you're a good worker, but we already discussed this, and I told you I wasn't going to work for you anymore, so I'm not working for you anymore. I got more work than I can do." So he laughed, he was tears in his eyes, because I have left Miami. But, that's one of those things, man. You get treated bad, you have to do on your own, and that's all it is, Chris. So I went on my own, and I met pretty good, I hired me some helpers and I done pretty good, So that's the way I started my career, as a builder and a repairman, and I had more work than I could do.
So you were getting a lot of contracts out there again.
I had a lot of contract jobs like that, and another thing, good credit. That's what I had, with Mr. Marber. I used to go to Leash Lumber Company, and sometimes I used to get little jobs here and there, and odd job besides working with Mr. Marber, and I asked Mr. Lucy was his name, if I could have some credit on the lumberyard. He said, "Oh yeah, sure. You're a good worker. You're a good pay too." I said, "You can have credit." So I got credit with the lumberyard, and the lumberyard, I had a bookkeeper there, and that bookkeeper, every time I used to go to him and say, I got this how to make so many feet this way and so many foot that way, and I want you to make me an estimate to see how much lumber you're gonna use and how much you're gonna cost. Well, she would do that for me, but I don't think I'll ever get another guy like that. On that, and Arthur was his name, and he used to like me a lot, Arthur. And every time I got a job, I went to him, "Arthur, I want you to make me an estimate on this addition or room or house or whatever," and he would make it for me. And I would go out there to Leash Lumberyard, and I would load my pickup with lumber, and I would stop there, and I told Mr. Lucy, check. You want to check at the lumber I have in the pickup? He said, "Oh no, Julian, we don't have to check you. We know you. You're a good man." But I would never have another opportunity like that. Never. And Mr. Lucy passed away, And then Mr. Leach took over. That was his partner. Mr. Leach took us, and he named lumberyard, this to Lish lumber somebody. So he gave me credit too. And he used to like me a lot. He used to give me credit. The same thing with him. He said, "We don't have to check you. Then we know who you are."
So you had a pretty good living going on right there. Did you ever start a family?
I wanted so bad to have a family. You know, this woman that I met, we used to love each other. I thought that we loved each other, and sure enough, I had her pregnant one time, and she didn't want to have any kids, you know. So she told me to take her to a doctor, but she want to have an abortion. So I had a doctor friend of mine. I took her to a doctor by others, and the doctor gave her some aspirin, you know, and things like that. She thought she was gonna abort that child that she was carrying, but she didn't. And by the time she turned around, it was too late, you know, for an abortion. So soon enough, I got it. She got so big by God that she had to leave and go to Colorado out there. And stay there for a while. Then when she came back, she went to a hospital and had the first baby of mine, my brother. And it happened to be a girl.
So
I wanted a boy, so
how many kids did you have?
I had 3 kids with her.
You had
Nancy,
Bill
I had Nancy, and I had 2 boys,
and their name
Christopher, and Lawrence.
Marius.
Very nice.
Um,
And it was nice life. We used to love each other, you know. But you know,
what kind of things were going on during that time? Were you involved in any kind of organizations when you were raising your family? Did you any kind of community organizations like with a church or?
well, I used to belong to the St. Vincent de Paul Society and the church, you know, Catholic Church, and when my kids were growing up, you know,
Was that the only thing that you had? I mean, were you also you were president of the St. Vincent de Paul
our
Society?
church has St. Vincent de Paul Society, you know, and we used to do a lot of charity work for the church, you know, and to the poor, and we used to go out and I used to have my kids help me at the time. I got in another. We were growing up. I got into maybe 7, 8 years or 9 years. I got in, and they used to go and help me out the food or whatever, or we used to give to poor people. You know, it was a good organization.
Did you also help youths in any way? Were you active in any kind of group that dealt with youths?
Yep. What?
Did you help? Were you active in the Scouts or Boy Scouts? Didn't you mention you were a leader of a Boy Scout group or?
Oh well, that's another besides and Bishop the Paul Society. The church wanted to have a Boy Scout group, you know, and they showed me to be the president of the Scoutmaster Boy Scouts, and I had about 15 kids by the Boy Scouts, all from the poor neighborhood, you know, and they were all poor, but they could not even afford to get a quarter or fix set from the fathers to go out on a camping trip or anything like that. I had to get them out of my pocket, you know.
Were these Mexican American kids or
They were all Mexican kids.
Mexican kids?
Yeah.
So-
Them, no angles. Angle with me all the time. But I don't know.
Did you notice any kind of prejudice going on in the church or the school?
Not at the church, not at the school. No.
No, not.
No. I think president and discrimination and something like that. I got tired by of getting pushed around by because we had a priest that came from Ireland, and he thought he was uh, the president of the St. Vincent de Paul Society, which he wasn't. He was only a spiritual director. And we used to distribute Christmas baskets to the poor. On the 24th Christmas Christmas
Eve.
Christmas Eve, and he got after me and he told me, from here on, you're gonna deliver the Christmas baskets on the 25th, which is Christmas Day. And I look at him and I say, Father, you're only a spiritual director. I am the president of St. Vincent de Paul Society. That's why we have meetings on a Thursday, and we decide whether we distribute the food one day before Christmas or on Christmas Day. But on Christmas Day, we chose a day to be with our kids and our families. And it isn't fair for us to go out on a Christmas Day distributing the food when you can deliver it on the 24th. And I got mad at him, but I thought, he said, well, from here on, you're going to deliver them on a Saturday. He was an Irish guy. He new priest, but he don't know anything. I thought, you know what? You can keep you some business in the false society. Get somebody else to run it. I'm just quitting, because that's why we kept meetings, and that's why I am the president, and I'm supposed to decide which day we're supposed to deliver the groceries. We don't get paid for this, Father. We're doing it for charity. We're doing it because voluntarily, because we want. But if you want to take over, go ahead and take. I'm resigning. Well, I left.
Like there was still problems about that. Now, as far as the way Hispanics are being treated now, over the years, have you seen a lot of changes in the lives of the Mexican Americans and how they are being changed? And what changes have you seen? Like
there are a lot of changes because the Mexican people nowadays they don't struggle as much as it was before. Before it seemed to me that everybody was afraid to do something like that. Nowadays seems to me that they're more free to talk and express their feelings. They're like the black people the same way. That they express their feelings, and they do most of the time they do what is right, and that's not very much discrimination, I don't think.
So what problems do you think still need to be resolved with the Mexican Americans? And
I don't know of any problem there. I don't know if as old as I am, I don't think I have any problem with anything,
So
I don't know about the new generation, the new kid, but I don't know what's in their mind, what they do, so at the schools, I think there's some discrimination, about the Mexicans and the blacks and different kind of races. But
so you think with young people, there's more?
it's mostly young people nowadays. They always think that themselves better than others, and they start quarreling and fighting, and they can't live like decent people anymore. I don't know what's going on.
Like you're talking about gangs or something, right?
A lot of gangs, a lot of dope going on, and I don't know. I just don't get involved with this kind of people anymore.
What term do you like to be described as yourself? Do you want to be described as a Mexican American, a Latin American, a Chicana, Puerto Rican, Cuban?
I'm a Latin American. I'm a Latin American. I have no such thing as.
Why? Why do you want to be?
Because I was born here in America. It's a Latin, supposed to be Latin American. I was born here in the United States. I don't claim myself as a Mexican national because I don't know what to do with Mexico. In fact, I have been there for years.
Okay, what advice do you have for younger generations?
Well, my advice for them, is to study, to learn, be your own. Don't depend on the other people to let you run your life. I mean, there's sense enough that you could decide for yourself who you are. What are you gonna be in life? What is ahead of you? And stop being greedy and stop being trying to be better than somebody else. We're all human beings, by God. Why can't we live together like human beings? I don't think, by God, that it's fair for the Mexicans to fight against the white, the white to fight against the Mexicans. What's the game? I mean, there's a place to fight. If you want to fight, go to war. Up there for the fighting, by God, you're free to shoot or be shot by that, because not here in this space, by God. They should live like brothers and sisters, by God. I mean, I just don't see it. All this arguing about I'm better and you're better or you're worse, and this and that. To me, I live my own life, my own way, and I don't interfere in somebody else's affairs. Like,
Okay. We had mentioned about, actually, we had forgot to mention about the depression and
that's right.
the depression. And I just wanted to cover a little bit about it that you might recall, so that way we can add that into this interview.
Well, the depression it's something that very few people know about it, because the young generation, but they don't know anything about depression. That's so hell. That's 60 years ago, by gosh. I mean, that's before we went into the army, before we went to the war, by gosh. There was depression. Depression started in the 20s, you know, and it was poverty. It was real bad because we had overproduction, you know. America had overproduction of everything. The ranchers had more cattle than they can sell. The farmers, they plant more corn, more cotton, more vegetable they could sell, and there was no market for it because no place to sell, and people went broke because they couldn't find job. It was a terrible thing, my God. So it's when Roosevelt came in, I don't know if you know about it or not, my God, but he ordered all the farmers to plant only so many acres of vegetables or corn, or the rest of the acreage, by God, that was left unplanted. The government will pay you a percentage for not producing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. They would send you a check where you just tell the government how many acres you didn't produce anything. They will send you a check, you know, for whatever you had in mind to plant. You know, the same thing with the cattle. You know, the ranchers had a lot of cattle they couldn't sell. You know, and what he done, here's a lot of cattle to make it hard to find meat. You know what I mean? That way the people will buy. There was so much overproduction, but nothing was worth anything. You couldn't sell the cattle for meat because nobody would pay you anything for it. Probably $5 a head of cattle, something like that. You know, that's not enough. So he ordered a slaughter of cows, a slaughter of pigs, just leave so many. So there would be a demand. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There would be a demand. But that was Roosevelt. That's what he done. You know? And that's how the depression started ceasing a little bit. And then war starts. You know, then for start of the war starts. The Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and everybody was terrified. You know, I was the first one, but I got real mad, and I said, I'm going to join the army and go to fight the Jap. But it wasn't the Jap that I went to fight. I went to fight the German.
So your family didn't suffer much in the time of the Depression, though?
Depression, no. You know, we didn't feel the depression. You know what I mean? Because we had a farm, and we had everything we wanted except money. We've had cattle, we had horses, we had hogs, we had chickens, we had vegetables, we had everything we wanted. To eat. We had it in the farm, you know, and the one that didn't have a farm, you know, that was bad for them because they had no money to buy, you know.
So
They had no money to buy the money. There was no money, so you could see walking along the street by God, women with 3 or 4 kids by God, and a bundle on the shoulder, you know, real poor, you know, hungry. My father used to feel sorry for them, and he would tell them to go into the farm, you know, and eat whatever they want to. We had corn, we had watermelons, cantaloupe, tomatoes, all kinds of vegetables. We couldn't sell, so he gave them away.
away. So these are experiences that kids nowadays would never, ever experience.
No, the kids they don't know anything about what depression was. They're ignorant of that, but I don't think they teach them in the school about depression at all. You know? I don't think so, because nobody knows anything about what depression was. What I did, and lots of my men and my fellow men at the time, at my age.
Well, Mr. Gonzalez, I want to thank you again for this interview. And we, again, are doing this for the U.S. Latino and Latina World War II Oral History Project. And we would thank you again for your time. And
Well, thanks a lot for
this is Nancy Acosta.
for hearing part of my story, but you know, it takes a long time. It takes a long time to tell the story and to come out with everything that you know. It is impossible. It takes time. It's a long story. I could sit here all night and tell you of things that happened. It is, you know. She is the Blessed Mother of Jesus Christ, which I have a lot of faith in her. And I think that because of her, I got saved from the most terrible days of the war. Because I asked her on my knees that please help me in my days of agony. And she helped me get out of that war by God in one piece. Now, this is my son, Lawrence, and he joined the Navy, and he's stayed in the Navy and the submarines for 9 years. Hoping that when he come out, he'll have enough money to build a home and live a peaceful life with his wife, which it didn't happen. But he came out of the Navy, found out that he was broke. He didn't have not a penny in the bank, and his wife have spent all the money. The one on the bottom here is John Henry. That's Stearns.
That's you when you the service.
That's me when I was in the service. No, when I got out of the service, I took that fiction. That's a long time ago, 56 years ago.
Right here.
How about the little pictures down?
That little picture's my granddaughters. And I guess you probably, by now, you know my story. And here it is. Here's this drawing or picture, whatever you want to call it. When I had nothing to do, I tried fooling around with paintbrushes, and I remember in my youth that there was a lake where I used to go out there and swim and fish and shoot ducks and whatever. And I thought I'd just make something similar to it. There's a little island. I used to swim from the bank to that little island, and go out there and look for duck eggs. And I used to fish on the pond. It was a great lake. The only thing that it wasn't is that those mountains on the back, up with those, it's artificial. They were not on that lake there. And this here, this is citations of proclamations they gave me at Edinburgh when I received my Distinguished Service Cross there, as a proclamation from the officers of the court and the schools and the teachers. Here, this little bitty thing was sent to me by some kid in the school. It says, "Thanks for preserving the fundamental rights guaranteed in the U.S. Constitution, a student." So I don't know who it was, but it's a great thing. I keep it there to remember.
And right over here in this spool, over here.
Whose picture is that?
That old man there is, this is my daughter Nancy. I drew her by yes. I'm looking at a picture. I think it's well done. I don't know. I'm not an artist. And here's an old man by golly that took a picture in the school, and I have one of those carreta heads, whatever Cuban heads. And the other picture on the other side is when I was young and handsome by God. Yeah. But not the same as this one over this side. And that's about it. Like I should try, no.
Okay.
So
Oh.
Thanks a lot anyway for
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
over reporting part of my life.
This is very useful, and it's again for the UT
And if
World War II.
any use of what I have talked about and discussed about my past, is any way you could use it in any way, you're welcome to do so. I don't know anything about. I'm too old to care anymore anyway. So do whatever is good, whatever is right, and in the future, if I'm still kicking around and you want to know a little more about my life or about the war, so welcome to ask questions. For right now, I guess that's about it.